Hey, welcome to the coaching call, September 14th, 2020. I'm William Mears, happy to be here. I'm expecting a few people to come on and ask some questions, so let me get the Zoom link ready for you guys. 1 second here while I do that. Normally I have all of this ready. The only thing I'm missing is the invite link. So that's not going to take me too long to copy and paste that over in the comment section, as I always do. So if you're watching this right now, live of course, there is about to be a comment made by me, and it's a link to a Zoom room, which if you're not familiar with Zoom, you should be. But if you're not, it's basically a live chat interface where you can video chat, you can type chat, you can share screens back and forth. And I've actually synced that into the Facebook live stream, which you're watching right now. So I'm going to pin that to the top of the comments section for you to access that. And yep, we're good there. All the settings are good in the room. Cool. Yes, I know I'm in bad need of a haircut, but I've been working my ass off. So, which is all good news for you guys. Been still working on catching up on support tickets. Made some good progress on that today. So happy to help some people. And if you haven't gotten an answer yet from support and you're waiting on something, hang tight. Over the next couple days, I should be able to get to where we need to be. And there's also some infrastructure that comes with that, as I've promised, as advertised. So to make things a lot more efficient and increase the quality as well. So that said, you always have access to these calls on the 14th and 28th. This month is a little bit different. We're having to push the call to 2 p.m. Normally, we schedule on the 14th and 28th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I've done that for years now, and we'll continue to do that. We will, and I brought this up. A lot of people have been thinking about this. It's been on everybody's mind lately. We will definitely be doing other calls outside of this one. Unscheduled calls. We'll be increasing our scheduled calls and all that. I will not be doing all the calls. We will have some staff do some calls as well. And you're going to have all kinds of different topics that are covered as well, based on what I teach and how I teach, based on success and case studies and results. And so a lot to look forward there, I should say. And yeah, pretty excited about that. Let me just double check and make sure. Yeah, we're live streaming. Cool. Audio's on. Link is pinned at the top of the comments. I see we have somebody came on the call here. Let me actually put my phone over there and headset on. Let me see if my audio is coming through. Does not look like it is. Why is my audio not coming through? Let me try one more time. There we go. Maybe, okay, yeah, so my audio is coming through now. And multi-output, very good. Okay, cool. So, somebody just came into the Zoom room. If I might butcher this name, I hope not, but Gelati. If you want to come on live, ask your questions live, or if you're just tuning into this, it's the same as the live stream pretty much, only without a 20-second delay. Feel free to ask your questions. Again, anybody can ask any questions they want. You can ask in the comment section, or you can ask live on the Zoom. So it's totally up to you folks what you want to do. But I'm going to keep my headset on just for a second, make sure that Gelati does not need any live help with anything. Okay, comments. Let's see. Adrian, hey bud. Hope you're all good. Business is improving. Yep, same here. Hope the same thing for everybody else too. Definitely. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Okay, let's see. Got some people tuning in. That's good. Maybe it just takes everybody a few minutes to kind of get into place here. But as always, on the calls, my My live stream is, not my live stream, my Zoom link is at the top of the comments, pinned at the top there. You can come in live, ask questions, guidance, whatever it is you need help with. Could be anything from campaign creation, optimization. Google's made some updates recently, actually quite a few over the last couple months, and most of them didn't affect you. And even now, some of the more serious ones that everybody else is sweating right now, like for example the search terms, right? They've limited the search term results to feedback only for the search terms that are high traffic, right, or searched a lot. And a lot of people are freaking out about that. Like they're seeing anywhere from, well, what we're seeing, which is like anywhere from 10%, 30%, somewhere in there, 10 to 30% reduction in the search terms that are shown. The good news is Google Ads did not get rid of search terms, right? Which tells you, okay, they're not penalizing us; they're trying to make it better, right? Now, Google usually has one of two motives and three options. They're either improving the platform, the ads platform, to make more money, right? Which is their right, and I think that's good for them to do, because if they make money, and I make money, then everybody's happy, right? The other one is obviously the second one. I just gave that away. Is for us to make money, right? The improvements to the ad platform for us to make money. And then the third option is actually a combination of those two, for them and us to make money. This happens to be the last one, the third option, which is everybody's going to make money on this. Whereas most people are freaking out because they do really, really crappy or really poor optimization to their campaigns, and not as I've taught you folks how to do. That's what's costing them, right? And we are able to squeeze a lot of juice out of that even just one search term can produce dozens, hundreds, and sometimes even a couple thousand or more negative keywords for us to apply, and also keyword ideas. So we don't necessarily need the search terms that are that they're not going to be showing anymore. And in addition to that, a lot of them are lower searched, meaning, guess what? That matches with the strategy that I told you and will continue to teach you that Google Ads is going in the direction of, right? We used to teach single keyword ad groups, right? So one keyword, one ad group, put up a bunch of stuff, see what's profitable, what sticks, and then run with that, right? Now it's much more topic targeting. It'd be the best way for me to say that, topic targeting, where it's if you've got pest control as your vertical, you've got ants as an ad group, you've got bees as an ad group, wasps as an ad group, that kind of thing, right? Cockroaches as an ad group. And then you've got all the keywords that relate to high intent wise, driving a phone call, that have traffic. And Google gives you the answers based on traffic numbers next to each of the keywords. I show you how to do that when I build out the campaign for you guys, right? And that is the exact same mindset that they have applied and thinking that they have applied to their search term screen. I told you guys this is the direction that Google Ads is moving in. I wasn't bullshitting you, right? Like I'm telling you straight out. And no, I don't work at Google, and no, I don't have friends on the inside or anything like that. I'm very much above board with them. What I will tell you is that I have the ability to see the moves that they're making. I've been around long enough and have seen the moves that they've made over the years, and understand, that they're actually trying to help the people that make the most money with them make more money with them, while at the same time maintaining or increasing their own profit. I'm telling you, it's those three things. They improve the platform for them to make money, they improve the platform for us to make money, and then a combination of both of those as the third option. Anytime they make changes, that's how you got to start looking at the ad platform. And they're probably not the only one that does that, but I can tell you this: they telegraph, they really let you know in advance if you pay attention to the signs. It's kind of like I'm not a weatherman, right? But I can see the rain clouds off in the distance, and I can also feel the wind blowing, and can guesstimate that it's not blowing at 50 miles an hour, it's blowing at 5. And I can guesstimate based on the sound of thunder. What was it we learned? I know the Boy Scouts teaches this, is divide by, what is it, 7 seconds from the time you see lightning and hear thunder, and then that's how many miles it is away, the storm. Anyway, there's a way to calculate roughly how far the storm is, and every time you see lightning and then hear thunder, the distance between what you see and what you hear, that's the speed of sound, by the way. You're actually able to do a quick math on that. I believe it's divide by 7, I think. And that's how many miles away it is. That's how many miles away the storm is. So you can actually track a storm that you can see and hear way off in the distance even. That's not even close to you. Could be miles and miles and miles away, but you're going to know about how far away it is. And also, if you take multiple measuring points, you'll know how fast it's coming towards you. That's kind of cool. Granted, it's not weatherman with an exact sound, with an exact radar and positioning of where the precipitation, where the rain actually is, which is not necessarily the most accurate, but more accurate than being completely blind, right? The point is, even though I'm not a weatherman and don't have that radar for, working inside of Google and that kind of stuff, I don't need it because I can see the rain, I can feel it, I know what's coming, and I don't know about you, but this is not a joke. Like, you can actually smell the rain. Out in the desert, it actually smells really different than like where it did from back home. Back home, you'd smell wet grass. It was really good smell. It was really, really good smell. Here, it's a little bit musty. It's not exactly musty, but it's got that wet dust smell. It's hard to explain, but it's definitely it's a unique odor, a unique scent, and the rain's coming. You're like, oh shit, that's rain. Plus, it's also really, really dry here, so when you smell that, for sure it's raining, about to rain, or rain's headed your way, or it's just rained, just by smelling. Right? Isn't that crazy? The point is, Google telegraphs that stuff, and it's not necessarily as telegraphed as maybe some of the weather systems that move, but and sometimes they do catch us off guard, just like weather. It's a pretty decent analogy, actually. I'm not a weatherman, but man, can I really tell the weather without all the fancy technology and all that kind of stuff. The other thing is, I am a numbers hound, so I do have a lot of high-tech systems and radar and tools at my disposal, as well as some insight from multiple sources and my own from my own data to compile like strategies for how we actually build the campaigns, and not just call on the ads, but all types of campaigns. I've run many, many different campaigns over the years, not just call campaigns, but call campaigns are my favorite to run because, or ad campaigns that drive phone calls. Let me rephrase that, because there's many different types of marketing out there that you can drive phone calls with. I'm starting to teach you just with call-only ads, and we'll obviously progress out to the other ad types and other strategies, as well as other ad platforms. And even have a lot of integration points inside of Ring Ads, the software, for those different strategies and ad platforms and types of ads, copies of campaigns, all kinds of cool stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff coming your way. I just want you to know this is not me being an I told you so kind of guy, because that's not how I am. But I do want to make it a point to show you that what I am saying is very much what they are doing. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And the good news for you is most people are seeing those notifications in Google and they are freaking out. We just know that what that means for us is optimization is now more important than it's ever been, which has kind of been the recurring theme over the last 2 years. With Google updates, for Google Ads updates, and we've seen that ever since they've revamped the platform. And I had a suspicion, not a suspicion, but I had a hunch that they were going to be going that direction based on how they organized things in the cleaned up, the new looking interface. It was just organized in such a way where they're simplifying some things, because I have a feeling that I'd say over the next 2 years they're going to be adding even more. We're going to see some additions. We're going to see some new types of ads. We're going to see, this is me predicting the weather again, but it's not really predicting. I just know what's coming. I can see the rain clouds, right? I know we're going to end up with some new types of ads. At least one of them is going to be mobile based, at least one, if not the majority of them. We're also probably going to end up with more, not restrictions, but like more monitoring, more on the mobile ads side, whether they're call only ads or not. We're going to end up with more guidelines, more rules, more things to follow to make sure that our ads are compliant with their terms of service, right? And using the Google Ads platform, just to make sure that we're above board and legit, right? And I'm seeing a huge wave of that, and I think we're going to continue to see that for the next probably, I'd say at least the next couple years, maybe longer. And Google's always updated their terms of service and their policies and all that from time to time. Sometimes out of what seems to be out of the blue, but they do it based on the data they receive, right? And they enact changes as needed. But I happen to think as the new ad types come through, they're gonna be ramping that up for sure, especially over the next couple years. So we're gonna see a lot of cool stuff come through from them. And for us, I mean, I was talking to the mentorship earlier today, right? We had that call today, and it was actually a shorter call than I'm used to, but it was a good call. I shared with them. We talked about the things that are coming, and I made a prediction weather-wise, right, on where Ring Ads is at and where we're going to be. And I've been telling you guys things are coming. I've been telling you, be patient with us. We got some growing pains. Things are happening, but they're all good things. And we're at a critical point of mass where best way to describe my prediction is this. Let me just lay it out. Maybe that'll make more sense. Fourth quarter this year, Ring Ads is going to explode. There's no doubt about it. It's already ramped up for that, but I thought it was going to be the second quarter of this year, and then life just happened, And I don't mean just COVID. I mean all kinds of stuff, right? But it was supposed to be this way, I guess. Is pretty cool to see everything kind of come together. But I know what's coming. I know what's coming down the pike, and you also. When you look at everything else that's going on in the pay-per-call world versus what we're, in addition to what is going on in the Ring Ad side of that world, we're going to be right in alignment with what we need when we need it, and people, I say people, non-Ring Ads users, non-Ring Ads members, or people that are not inside of Ring Ads or at least checking in with us on a regular basis, are really going to be left in the dust. Even if they're using another platform, I'm telling you, the distance is only going to become further and further apart for the people that aren't using the Ring Ads platform because of the function that's coming. The function you already have is set you apart from everybody else already, but the function that's coming is going to put you in a whole different league. It's going to be amateur hour for everybody else. And I'm not saying that to say bad things about them. Competition is healthy. There's people out there that I consider competition, very few actually. And then there's some people that think they're competition that very clearly aren't. And that's cool because they don't have the same vision. They're doing something different. They're not actually competitors in my mind, and they're doing their own thing. That's cool. I can tell you this. If it's anything to do within the pay-per-call industry, short of the affiliate side, which we'll be branching into as promised, there is no competition. It's just that simple. And if there is going to be competition, it's not going to be for a long, long time. It's not going to be for a long, long time. And we'll send them a welcome card or something at that point, I guess. I don't know. Just have fun with it. And I'm not saying that to brag about what we have or what we're going to have. more than I am to impress upon you the understanding of what's coming and how powerful it's going to be in your business. That's the key. You don't want to hear from me, oh, well, we're not really open to the idea of making things better, or we're not going to dedicate an entire team and staff to do just development. You don't want to hear those kind of things from me, right? That's where I'm telling you right now, that is where the rubber meets the road. Training is one thing. You got to have good training, right, in order for you guys to learn it and understand it. But once you get the hang of it, even one ad type on one ad platform, right? I'm going to teach you several platforms and several ad types. You're going to have tons of ways to get clients. You're going to have tons of ways to drive phone calls. Some that aren't even on ad platforms, actually, which is kind of cool. You're going to have a ton of different ways you could go about building your agency, right? And all of them are going to be great. But that means nothing if someone else has a software that can do the things that Ring Ads is going to do, okay? You could know everything in the world about every ad platform, and if you don't have what Ring Ads is going to give you guys access to, I'm talking about for the people on the other side of the fence there, looking in, right, at what you have, they're not going to be able to compete. You're going to have lower cost per calls. You're going to have more phone calls delivered. You're going to have higher quality phone calls delivered, not just from the ad types and ad copy and all that stuff. That's the training side, and those are all great. You got to have them, but at the same time, without software to even come close, you're just not gonna be there. It's not gonna be there for them, and for you it is. And it's important for you to know that. You don't want to rest on that. You don't want to sit on that. You want to do what I call capitalize on that. That's like knowing about Apple stock before Steve came back, right? That's like knowing about Microsoft before they were a big deal. That's about knowing what's going to happen before it happens. That's what this is about. That's what this conversation is about. And I'm telling you, and I've been right more times than not, like overwhelming majority of times about this kind of stuff. This is my world. I'm telling you, what's coming is going to be far great. I'm telling you, I'm going to get messages. I'd say within the next year to 18 months, I'm going to get messages from people saying, why, oh, why did I not go and have more clients 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. Don't be that guy. Don't be that gal, right? Be the one who got the clients and was in front of the wave, right? And was ready for what Ring Ads is going to be dropping on you. You're in the right place with the right people at the right time. I like to say that a lot. Haven't said it lately. I'm going to say it now. I believe that. I very much believe that. I'm excited to be here with you as well. And, rest easy, knowing that rest easy but work hard, if that makes sense. Rest easy in the knowledge that Ring Ads is here for you and is going to help you do everything they can do to produce the results in your agency, building it, scaling it, starting it and scaling it, I should say. And work hard on that. Work hard on scaling it, right? Anyway, looks like I got a couple comments in. Hold on just 1 second. Let me grab some water. Been going for a little while here. Super excited about what's coming down the way. All right, hold on. Comments. Let's see. Sounds great. Excited to see the additions to Ring Ads. Yep. Again, this is a lot of this stuff is. I say stuff. A lot of the developments alone are developments you're not going to find anywhere else, and it'll be like that for some time because they're not easy to comprehend, let alone code. That's the best thing. They're easy to teach because once it's there, it's fill in this, fill in this, fill in this, and this is what it does. And then the comprehension side of it kicks in once you've implemented it. You're like, wow, that produced a 50% increase in my qualified calls, right? That means I'm spending, instead of $2 for a qualified, instead of $2 for a qualified call, I'm spending $1, right? Because if you're driving twice as many calls or 100% increase in calls, if you're driving 2 calls for every one that you used to drive, right? In terms of qualified, that's half the money on spend. I mean, you may be spending $50, but now you're getting twice the bang for it, if that makes sense. So, and that's just one example. There's many out there. There's a few things that I'm actually revamping for you guys that's going to be showing up in the training, like the client engagement sequence. That's going to get a full revamp. There's a few things that are coming your way that are just going to make life super, super easy and fun to do in this business. So, yeah, that's what we're working on. I'm excited as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. But again, it's much more about the direction the industry is heading and being ready for it on your end, because I'm telling you, it's coming. And the last thing you want to be saying is, man, why did I not have this ready? Not that you can't catch up. Some people will be able to catch up, but not everybody, right? I'm telling you, it's coming. I sound like the end of the world, or the end of the world is near guy, right? Right, the end is near guy, holding the sign. But I'm telling you, it's coming. Believe me. And man, if you could only get in on something. How many times have you had that feeling? Man, if I could only get in on something if I could have got in on that when I knew that was going to do something, or thought that might do something, and here I am, and now Bitcoin's worth, whatever, over 10 grand again. Like, knowing before it happens. A lot of people say, oh, like there's not a myth, but that's like the Holy Grail. Like that's everybody wants that, right? And here I am with it. I'm telling you. And I don't know if you know, actually, you know what? I'll tell you what. Some of you have known me. Some of you have been around a long time. Some of you have known me for 4 years now. I want to look up, let's see. Let me see here. I'm going to look up some stats. And I'm doing a quick Google search for those of you who don't know what I'm looking at yet. I want to see. That's 2014. Let's see here. Just looking for different posts over the years here, just to see if I can find some stuff that's labeled time-wise. Oh, what does that say? That's 2012. No. Let me see here. I'm not seeing. Okay, hold on. Let me type in something different. Let me do. I know what I want to do. These are some of my favorite things, paper call infographics. There we go. Let's see what comes up. Guarantee there's going to be a shitload. All right, let's see. Let's open that one up. Let's look at that one. And let's look at that one. All right, so we got like 3 of them up. Let's see, what do we got here? This post was made in 2014, and this person is saying, let's see here. This is on Search Engine Journal, by the way. It's a post in 2014. See if they have any numbers. That's what I'm looking for. I'm just scrolling through looking for numbers. Not seeing shit. Okay. Horrible post. That was called The State of the Paper Call Industry, too. That was friggin' horrible. I think I should probably do my own then. Because that was bad. Alright, here is a post says, what is that? 75% of consumers. Okay, here it is. 70 billion calls from the internet and mobile devices will reach U.S. businesses this year in 2016 and is expected to continue to surge. Mobile search users will reach 225 million people this year in 2016. That was 4 years ago, right? Let's see if we got anything more up to date here. But 2016, that was back when a lot of you folks met me, right? And then I remember in 2014 and 2015, those numbers were like 30, 35, 42 billion. And now I just saw 70 billion on an infographic, right? Which doesn't necessarily make it 100% fact either, but most of those graphics were going to cite sources, right? Let's see here. Here we go. When was this post made? 2015. This one was made in 2015. Let's see here. A lot of good numbers on responses, which is good. Let's see. Okay, here it is. This is a projection by 2019. Global mobile ad spend is expected to hit 195 billion and 162 billion calls. Right, that's the projection based on the math of that infographic. And then there's another one here. I got to zoom in on this one just so I can see it. That's another Pinterest one. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Oh crap. There it is. That's what I wanted. Alright, and then zoom in. Alright, 2011 versus 2012 growth. Here's the crazy part. Yellow Pages was 1.2% or 1.2 growth. 2.3 times growth in internet Yellow Pages, 17 times growth in internet paid search, and 31 times the growth in mobile ads. That's crazy. And that was in 2011, 2012. So the growth, look, I've just shown you the growth over like the last basically almost decade, where, you know, you've got mid-decade, you've got billions of calls, and they're projecting double and triple that by now, and that's now. And I don't see anything about average call durations. Okay, cool. Increase. Okay. No, not seeing anything. Yeah, the point is this: there is a ton of money going into the mobile side of things. Dang. I zoomed in too much on that. There we go. There's a ton of money going into the campaigns, into mobile, excuse me, on the ad platform side too, because they understand how valuable it is. A lot of people may not realize this, but like anything on Facebook ads, like if you've ever run Facebook ads, some of the biggest launches they've had for the different products that they've launched over the last several years from that platform have been rolled out on mobile first. So like, I'll give you an example, video ads, video views, right? That started with Facebook, and then of course Google starts trying to come back and compete and do all that stuff. Video ads were very, very cheap and very popular on mobile because a lot of people, as Facebook knew from their numbers, view videos on their mobile phone, right, in the Facebook newsfeed, and so they took advantage of that, and so did a lot of advertisers, and maybe you were one of them. But if you didn't know that, that's one of the main reasons why it was so cheap. They were tapping into all that mobile traffic and had the impressions to be able to make it that cheap. The other thing that did really well and still does really well is lead ads. A lot of people take those for granted, but that's a mobile-based ad for Facebook. Like, you can't run a lead ad on desktop. yet. It's definitely a mobile ad and started out that way, and it's still that way. And that should tell you something, right? When ad platforms as big as Facebook and Google Ads, some of the basically major players in the ad platform side of things, roll out ads specific to a type of device, that's when you should really start paying attention. And it's like, well, what can you do on those devices? Yes, you can click on stuff. Yes, you can view websites. Yes, you can submit lead information and all that kind of stuff, and those are all well and good. But at the end of the day, if you cross-reference those stats with the other stats, which I'm not going to go look up right now, but I can tell you offhand the stats for people that want to, like the stats of what consumers want in terms of doing business with a business, right? Conducting business, they prefer the phone. Like it's still, even today in 2020, height of the millennials, right? Coming up here over the next decade, basically, it's the height of the millennial generation, and you're still looking at the phone being like using the phone, talking to someone on the other end of it, being the most by an overwhelming majority, like 70 something plus percent. And it's probably going to go up. And the reason it's going to go up is because we have things like social media and all these different things that actually are supposed to bring us together, but in a lot of ways distance us, right? Now you've got COVID on top of that. What's the one thing you can guarantee is going to happen? People are going to want that connection more than usual. So what does that mean? Phone calls or Zoom calls. That's why platforms like Zoom I mean, gosh, guys, I've been using Zoom for how long for my coaching calls? Like to tap into the live streams? We've been using Zoom for years, man. And it's not that nobody's heard of Zoom, but now everybody knows what a Zoom is, seems like, right? Everybody out there is talking about Zoom, and it's kind of like, where you been, for the last few years? Zoom's great. It's been great. Now Google finally launched their, what was that? Gosh, this is like, was that a week ago? Is it Google Meet? Could be wrong. I haven't looked at it yet. I just haven't had the time. Meet.google.com. Yeah, Google Meet. Video communications. So this should be interesting. I think this is in response to Zoom. A little bit late. I mean, shit, man. They've been sitting on, here's what's crazy. Google's been sitting on, gotta love them, but man, for innovation and everything, they've been sitting on Hangouts for how many years? Right? Google Hangouts. They've been sitting on that shit for how many years? And then now they launch Google Meet in response to Zoom because it blew up over, and not just Zoom, but other meeting platforms as well, because they all blew up and got more market share because of COVID. Why wasn't Google Meet ready to just flick with a switch of, with the flick of a switch? Like, why was that not ready to just switch on? Anyway, yeah, I'm going to have to look at this. Google Meet looks very Zoom-like. Just, sorry, Google. Just throwing that out there. I'll give it a shot and I'll take a look at it, but that looks very Google-like, or Zoom-like, in a Google kind of way. Anyway, the point is, there's a lot of cool things coming to wrap all that kind of stuff up. The call industry, the pay-per-call industry is where you want to be. There are other tracking platforms out there. There's other people you can learn from. There's people that you can learn from that learn from me. That's how long I've been around. That kind of makes me old, I guess. But that's, I mean, it is what it is. There's tons of different options you have for platforms and for learning. What I will tell you, though, is if you're not using Ring ads now, you're already behind the curve compared to other platforms that are out there. And fourth quarter, Ring ads is going to explode. And when it does, I can promise you something, well, many things, but the one thing I can promise you is going to be that you're going to wish you were here if you weren't, right? A lot of you are on this call, a lot of you are here, but are you really here? That's the question. Not trying to call anybody out. Just want you to really think about this. Give your business some serious thought here, because this is your business we're talking about. At the end of the day, I want you to seriously consider that and know what's coming. and know why it's important to be where you're at with the people you're with and the time that you're with them, right? The right time. So all those things kind of create that perfect storm I was talking about that's headed our way, and we're going to be able to cash in on that, all of us. And I'm excited about that. You should be as excited as I am, if not more. Sometimes, confession moment, sometimes I jump up and down like a little kid, and I'm not joking. I'm not going to do that right now, but you can tell by the smile on my face, like I really have done that, and I'll probably continue to do that from time to time, especially when I find some really cool stuff or something that we're going to develop that's just beyond anything anybody else has even thought of, let alone actually produced, right? That's what I love about this business, is being able to help you guys not just succeed, but make it a no-brainer, or not even make it a contest anymore. Like, someone can't even try to compete with you anymore. Like, that's the level I want to put you guys at, and that's the level I'm going to put you guys at. So I'm excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. The journey, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to take it together. This is going to be a hell of a quarter coming up. October, November, December. We're going to do a December Blitz with some special improvements, which are yet to be announced. Just know that it's like, if you've been in a December Blitz that I've done before, which I've had a lot of success stories come out of December Blitzes that we've done in the past, that I've done in the past. This will be the first December Blitz that Ring Ads has done. But yeah, I didn't, when we launched Ring Ads privately to the mentorship last year, it was like September, and I really wanted to focus in with them on the platform and build infrastructure and also get them up and going. So I spent my December last year doing that. This year it's everybody in Ring Ads. It's a free-for-all, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be like a battle royale, only everybody wins. Because if you participate in the battle royale, you're going to get clients, right? It's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun, and so much business is to be had over the next 3 months. And December Blitz, we're going to kick it off a little bit early in November so that we can do our prep work and then crush it in December. Got some Prime updates that are coming. I've got some updates that I've already done and then that I just haven't posted yet. Working on catching up on that. And then I've got some new updates that I want to drop on top of that. So there's a few updates that are coming for the Prime set. If you're in on Prime, you're going to want to stay there. And I'm also going to be addressing some pretty cool stuff, like how to deal with the momentum slowdown, or like the if life gets in the way and totally robs you of everything momentum wise. Here's how to get started again. Here's what it looks like. Here's how it feels. Here's what's going on in my mind. Here's how I deal with it. That's the cool thing about Prime, right? Is you get to sit on my shoulder and watch me deal with all the stuff that you guys deal with on a daily, right? Like, but see how I process it, see how I deal with it, right? And there are things that bug the shit out of me, and I'm going to let you know what those are, and I'm going to shoot you straight on that. But I'm also going to tell you what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it and how I'm going to reframe it and or work around it or through it, right? And how I'm going to leverage other resources, either something I can read, something I can listen to, someone I can reach out to, something I can change in my process if that's the case, all the above, right? You're going to get to see all that. So a lot of cool stuff on the way. This week's going to have some pretty cool updates. I expect I'm very close on the Google Ads API training. The Google Ads API is functional and everything, and some people are using it actually, but you got to have the training. You got to have the training to be able to implement that correctly. So I expect that's going to drop this week. I already told you about the Prime updates. I think that's going to drop this week. I know support catching up looks like that's going to be very soon here. I'd say sometime this week. For most of you, there's a couple of tickets that are a little bit more drawn out because they're different things that need to be covered. And it's more than just a one response ticket, and that's fine. What else? Trying to think, is there anything else? There's tons, but what's dropping this week? Hold on, let me take a look. I've got some lists here. Let me find the right one. Do, 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 do. Oh, the scaling. Yeah. So people were asking about like the engagement sequence and all that. I can't say the engagement sequence is going to be the updated engagement sequence is going to be out this week, but it might. Okay, I'm not going to say it's not either. It's not for sure, but it's also not for sure, if that makes sense. Either way, the scaling, right? The documentation for scaling, the training for scaling, the business side, that's going to be out this week. That's going to be good. So there's going to be that. There's going to be a few things that are being dropped, and then of course we'll continue dropping the rest of the training. I'm not drip feeding it or anything. I just want to make sure that certain things are in play and prepped properly before I drop them. But because there have been some crazy updates, I'd say like, gosh, Google Ads alone has made several updates over the last a few months. And they usually make several updates over a course of a few months, but several more, and they seem to be not all about call only ads. I'll give you an example. They're no longer called call only ads. They're called call ads. Google has renamed them call ads. So I guess now I've got to relearn how to say Google call ads as opposed to Google call only ads. Okay. Same thing though, same type of ads. Where that might present a problem is, for example, the update that they did to the AdWords editor. Like, it's not labeled call only ads anymore. It's labeled call ads. So I think I'm gonna have to go back into the training in a couple places, and when I do cover the editor at length, I'm gonna need to make sure I talk about call ads instead of call only ads. It's all about language. Little changes like that can throw you. Because I could be saying call only ads right now, and if somebody's listening to this replay from a year from now, they're like, what is that? Is that call ads, or is it something new? Is it something different? And it's actually something old. So hopefully you caught that by me saying that. Anyway, lots of cool stuff in summation coming your way from lots of different places, and Ring Ads is going to be one place that you can't miss. That much I can tell you. And I'm excited about it because I know what that means for your business. I do have some notifications. I'm not seeing anybody in the live Zoom, which is fine. If you don't need the help, doesn't bother me any, right? I'm here for you guys, right? One way or the other. Here we go. Let's see. Oh no, we do have a few comments. Okay, hold on. Why is it not updating in my live producer? That's weird. Oh, maybe it's posted on something else. Let me go back to sorry, just trying to find some comments here. I'm being mentioned in a couple of posts, so let me find where those are. I have to let Facebook refresh here. All right, let's see. Julian, you're waiting in the wrong place. All right, let's see. I got you covered though. I just messaged you about it. You're waiting in the wrong place. We're live already. Refresh your screen. Look for the live stream. All right, and then there was something else too. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, that's just a new post. Okay. Got it. Was that it? Yep, that was it. Okay, cool. Looks like we're good. caught up on the comments. Hopefully Julian finds his way. Yep, looking good. All right. Well, I am going to not kick back or anything, but I'm going to sit back for a second, grab some more water, and if you want to come in live, there's a Zoom link at the top of the comment section, pinned at the top there. Click on that, come in live. Or if you have questions that maybe you're afraid to come on live, or maybe you're too timid to come online. Sometimes that live that happens sometimes. Just write in the comments your question or direction that you need, and I'll be more than happy to help you with that. No problem. No problem. I'm getting another notification here. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's Julian again. Hold on a second. Having to waiting on the screen to refresh here. It will though. Come on, screen. Where's my pen? There's my pen. All right, what we got here? Oh, he's here now. Okay, great. Yeah, it sounded like maybe you just needed a refresh on the screen. Cool. Well, happy to have you with us. Cool, cool, cool. All right. No questions? Really? This might be the shortest. This is like, man, wonder what's going on today. What is going on today? Is there something going on today? News. What is going on today? News. Something must be going on today for so many people. That's two calls in a row today at two different times that are shorter than usual. It's making me wonder what is going on. Let's find out. Could just be a freak thing, like one of those days. Sometimes that happens. Every now and again that happens. I get it. I'm not seeing anything significant that would keep everybody from being on the call, unless everybody's in California and dealing with wildfires or something. But I highly doubt that's the case. In fact, I know it's not. So that's not it. Although that really sucks. Thoughts are with those people out there dealing with a lot of stuff out there for sure. Not seeing anything else. Let me just double check here. If I don't see anything in the next few minutes, I'm going to call it. I'm going to call the session. I mean, I'll be more than happy to help you if you need help. You can jump on live or you can ask in the comments section. I see Julian wrote another comment. Unless that was the same one. Might be the same one. But I'm refreshing here just to find out. Let me double check. If anything, you got a good update of what's coming and why you need to be working hard to build in the business, right? And that you're in the right place. Sometimes that's all you need. I get that. Sometimes that's all I'm needed for, is to tell people what's coming and what it is, like what's going on right now and what's coming. Sometimes that's all I'm needed for. I get that. I'm okay with that. Waiting for the Zoom link to fire up. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm here. I'll wait on you then. I'll wait on you a few minutes. Julian. Oh, there he is. Waiting on his audio to kick in. Remember to mute your Facebook feed there, Julian, when you come in, please. That'll help you with the audio. and then look for the audio in the bottom left hand screen, bottom left hand of the window, bottom left hand side of the window. You'll see a little microphone where you can set up your microphone. Looks like everything else is good. Yep. See about this Google Meet. I'll have to do that later because I don't want to. I've already got a Facebook live stream OBS going, which runs it's my broadcasting software, and Zoom. I don't think starting up a Google Meet would be a good idea. So yeah, I'll wait on that. But Julian, bottom left hand of your Zoom window, the Zoom window that you just opened, right? It's got me at the top, right? Bottom left hand side of that, if you mouse over it, the microphone will pop up. Hit the little arrow next to it, and you should be able to select your microphone. Should be able to select your microphone. And again, make sure that you mute the Facebook video, right? Make sure that you mute the Facebook video. There's a little mute button if you mouse over the Facebook video part, right? You should be good.
William?
Yes, hey.
Hey, okay, I'm finally in.
Oh, you called in,
So
okay. I see that now.
Yes, things were running slowly on my computer.
That's okay.
So I have been not doing anything for a long, long time. And I've gone around the block, done this, done that, and finally come back to the realization that the only thing I really want to do is this lead generation and delivering calls.
Okay.
So you know, I've done all the shiny object stuff and spent lots and lots of money elsewhere. I basically decided that I'm going to look at two niches, and I've looked at the trends in. I mean, there are so many niches, and
there are
to do. I just looked at moving companies because of people moving from the north to the south.
Right.
And so,
well, more than that. I mean, Las Vegas has been there's been a mass exodus, you know. People are moving out of this town left and right, you know.
And then with regards to moving, some people, they're moving and they are being displaced and they're going to be homeless, or they're going to be living with their parents or whatever.
Right.
And some people are going to be buying properties because these are now vacant and they're buying them at a bargain, and they want to get a house as expected, make sure that their things are still working and they can get a loan on it.
Yeah.
So I called a home inspector company up, and I asked him what he's paying at Home Advisor. He told me $26 or $32, and I offered him $35 without doing any kind of research to know whether or not I could actually deliver $35, because he told me the process of him getting an appointment is kind of convoluted in terms of they have to check with the landlord, they've got to check with the tenant, they've got to check with all sorts of people. So even though he said it would be worth $50 for a booked appointment, I figured I can't go into the hassle of knowing whether or not you've got an appointment booked. And it's a bit lower than what I wanted to do in terms of he's only charging $300 to $500, $600 per home inspection. It's not a huge profit margin. I'm looking for somebody that does $1,000 or more. You know, like a roofing company, they would do $5,000 or $6,000 or more, and much of that would be profit. But I figured, you know, there is demand, and it's probably something that I would probably not be. I would never go to their office. They would have to come to me. So, you know what? It fits our criteria of it's something that is. I'm going to say, if you're getting a loan, well, you're almost compelled to get home inspection. And
well,
so
a lot of
you know what, there is
a lot of loans you're not going to, if not all of them, you're not going to be able to get in the U.S. anyway without an inspection approved. Like escrow won't release unless the home's been inspected for like asbestos and a few other things. So yeah, there's a few inspectors and inspections that have to be done, if I'm not mistaken, and it varies,
Yeah.
I believe, state to state. But overall, the inspections are there's good money in that. There's no doubt. It's here's the thing. You're if you look at the housing market in the U.S. right now, while it's taken a little bit of a hit, it is not reflecting what's happened in the market yet, and that's because we've been propped up, and I mean meaning the economy has been propped up with. Even though the stimulus wasn't that great, and a lot of people are dealing with um, not having enough money. Here's the thing, and losing jobs and all that. There's been a lot of job creation to combat that. It's not 100% or anything, but it's better than just nothing, right? Like an actual slowdown. And then there's also the where was I going with that? You've got the job side. Then you've got there's possibly another stimulus that's coming. It's an election year, so people get crazy. And then you've got the forbearance, for example, of evictions, right? So like people aren't being evicted right now. I think that's I think an order was just passed. I think Trump just passed an order, didn't he, to extend that through the first of the year. Either he did or Congress did or somebody passed it, and it went through. I didn't pay attention to who it was because I could give a shit. But the point is, it passed, and I'm pretty sure that people aren't going to be evicted through the first of the year. But there was a gap. There was a gap of like, what was that, a month and a half? And I'm telling you right now, the moving companies were booked solid. Inspectors, not so much. Realtors are hustling twice as hard. Everybody on social media that's a realtor, I've got a couple of realtor friends here in Vegas too, by the way. They're hustling twice as hard for the same amount of money, if not less. So there are buyers out there because they're taking advantage. Here's the problem, though. The housing prices haven't dipped as low as they're going to go, right? I'm not saying everything's going to fall through the floor or anything, but here in Vegas, it's a little bit different than every other city because we've actually had some teams come in, some professional teams, sports teams, and so the perceived value is still high. Plus, everybody from California is coming over here to buy up property, which I say send them back. Not a big fan of Californians. If you're from California, don't take that personally. Just understand, like, if you live in Las Vegas, you're not a fan of Californians. You guys suck in driving and all that kind of stuff. And we just really, not big on a lot of Californians. It's too close. Just drive. Make the drive, okay? You don't have to buy up all the property out here. And my point is this, like a lot of property value has skyrocketed, but at the same time, rents are going up and people still have the income problems that they're having with the jobs or a lack of or a little bit more of a lack of. There's also still COVID at play, which slows production of those jobs down. Even if there are new jobs, production is going to be slower in a lot of cases, not every case, but a lot. Then you've also got people moving away. Casinos are either closed or at half capacity, and intentionally at half capacity. Like that's their new full capacity is being at half capacity. Okay, and when you look at that, it's like okay, the market prices here haven't dipped. If anything, they've gone up. That does not. Anytime there's not an accurate reflection of what's going on in the economy in another market, like, for example, in this case, the housing market, guess what's coming?
A correction?
Yeah, a huge one, too. Let me tell you. That correction is going to be huge. And it may not be everywhere. It may not be the entire U.S. I have a hunch it's going to be felt much greater than what's expected. Matter of fact, let's see. Housing market Q4 2020 projections. Let's take a look. Gotta love Google, right? All right, let's see. Zillow estimates a 2 to 3% drop in prices through the end of 2020 compared to last year this time, fourth quarter, with normalcy returning by quarter 3 2021. It also projects as much as a 60% decline in home sales this quarter, measured from this time last year, and that's from GeekWire.com. about Zillow's housing market projections. So it's Zillow's projections. GeekWire's just reporting on it, and they're already talking about a 60% decline in home sales. So here's my point: 60% decline in home sales, and that's from Zillow. That's across the country. It's worse than I even thought. Should have looked it up first. How do you think that plays into inspections?
Well, I think that's going to put a lot of inspections. There's going to be less demand for it. But that might mean that they may just raise their prices to cover all the demand because even if they raise the prices 10%, that might help.
Here's what happens. Here's what happens. The people that can withstand the storm, right, can withstand the flood or the hurricane, have the deepest roots, right? The trees that stay standing after a storm have the deepest roots. In this analogy, who has the deepest roots in home inspection?
I would think those that are franchised, if there is a franchise.
No, not necessarily. What if it was a brand new franchise? Do they have deep roots?
Well, they have a...
You said they're franchised, so that's good, but what if they're brand new? What if they're 2 months old, 6 months old, a year old?
Well, those who are advertising to get the,
that can offset it. That can offset it. What if there was...
The home advisor would be getting the leads and the home advisor. What I've seen is Home Advisor, Thumbtack, and Yelp, really, but Yelp isn't really...
What if there
I'm
was...
not sure about Yelp. I haven't looked at them.
What if there was no advertising? Who would get the business?
Well, then it would be those who are ranking higher, those who have been up there for a while.
No advertising, no search engine. You'll get there eventually. Look at what I'm driving at. Deepest roots. What am I talking about? Those with the deepest roots survive.
Well, then I would, if I were a home inspector, I would definitely want to expand my referral network with real estate agents and mortgage brokers.
Again, you're missing my point. Let me back up.
Okay.
The deepest roots survive the storm. The trees with the deepest roots survive the storm. Why?
Because they can get water where others can't.
Deepest roots keeps you from uprooting the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Small trees get knocked over because they don't have deep enough roots. They're not big enough, right?
Yeah,
to have
shallow, yes.
Right. To have big roots, you got to be a big tree, right? In most cases. Most trees are that way. Not all trees, but most trees are that way, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that fit into the analogy of home inspectors? What does someone that's in home inspection look like if they're a big tree and have big roots? Forget about advertising for a second.
They would have had a large customer base originally.
Correct. But in home inspection, how do you have a large customer base? That's not something you just have a ton of repeat business from, right? It's not like you go once a month to get a home inspection.
No, you have to be in business for a long time.
And how long?
And then probably 10, 20 years because people move on average every 8 or 10 years.
Right. So here's what. Right. Okay. So follow me on this. Here's what you need to be doing. If you're going to go after home inspectors, which I don't think it's the greatest vertical, but if you're gonna insist on it and you're gonna do it, then you need to be targeting people right now with a 60% decline in home sales. Who's going to be around? Who's going to be around alive in the business? We just covered it. Come on, man. I just gave you the answer. Who's going to be around? Who's going to be alive in the business?
Those who have been most established, well established.
Correct. The ones who are still established are going to be there weather the storm. So what happens to all the other guys? Raise their prices. They can't compete. They get washed out of business, don't they?
Uh-huh.
So do you want those guys as clients? If they're going to be out of business in 3 months?
No. Well, if they're getting...
Stop overthinking it. Stop overthinking it. Do you want clients that are going to be out of business in 3 months or not?
No.
Okay.
I want clients who will be around for a long time.
And with a 60% decline, Most businesses can't even afford a 20-30% margin decrease, right? That is their business. Now they're working for free, right? 60%, only the strongest are going to be there. So who do you need to be targeting as clients for the foreseeable future? I'd say for at least the next 6 months minimum. Who do you need to be targeting as getting a client?
Those that have been around a long time.
Right. Now here's where it gets funny, right? And not funny like haha, funny, ironic. Most people are going to go after every inspector that they can find, right? You're going to go after the guys who are well established, but what have they seen in the business in the fourth quarter? They've seen a 60% decline. They've seen a 60% decline, right? Simple math. So if they've seen a 60% decline, but they're still around, what are they now in the market for, or at least more open to?
Getting more.
Getting more.
Up with others.
Getting more so that they can stay alive until thrive time, right? Till thrive time. So here's what's really crazy. If it was normal markets or a growth market, would they even take your call? Rarely. Sometimes, sure, right? Depends on the personality. But I can guarantee you virtually everybody that has deep roots will answer your call right now, and especially over the next 6 months. You follow what I'm saying?
Okay. Yep.
Nobody else is targeting that way because why?
There's spraying and praying.
Right. Know. Right. No. You're right. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that some of the smaller guys, let me add a caveat in here. I'm not saying some of the smaller guys all the smaller guys are going to be put out of business. Some of them will survive because they have good business sense and good business practices, right? Some of the guys that have been around for, it depends on the learning curve of the business. Like some guys that have only been home inspecting for 2 years, or somebody that's doing it part-time, those are not your guys. Someone who's been doing it 5+ years, you could probably go down to 5, right? Anything less than 5 years is probably, because that's been the last, growth period, if you will, growth stunt. Like I'd say maybe even anyone north of 5 years, but your sweet spot's probably going to be like 7 to 8 on up, right? So guys that have been in business 7 years, 8 years, doing this for a while, up to the guys who, have been doing this for 30 years, multi-generational kind of deal. Okay, those are the guys you want to target right now, especially. Now, when times are good, that's when you target newer guys. You can go back down to the newer guys, but you also are well established with the older guys already, right? So there's going to be fluctuations in your marketing strategy if you want the most bang for your buck, I guess is the best way to say it. Plus, the one thing I see people fall victim to more often than not is in their client acquisition, they're not qualifying enough. And in this case, it would be not qualifying to the point of being able to either take the volume or not be so desperate to just, okay, let me give you an example. You got a client that's been around 30 years, you drive calls to him, everything's happy, he's grateful. He's going to keep you around even when he's doing well because he's going to be able to grow the business and he can count on you, right? Great. That's a great business relationship. Then you pick up a guy who's been in the business like 2 years. The first year of it, he was part-time, and now he's full-time, and he just went full-time at the wrong time because of COVID and all this shit's going on. And he's really wondering why he did what he did, why he left his security and all that, or whatever's going on in his mind. And so he gets the bright idea to do what? I'm going to raise my prices. Yeah, I won't be able to compete on price, but I have to raise my prices in order to make things more profitable because I'm not getting the amount of calls that I thought. Even if he was currently doing business with you and currently receiving calls from you, if those numbers are too high, based on previous experience from clients, right, or based on what they've read up on before they called him, is he going to get? Is he going to get that business?
If he's personable, he might, but he might lose out on price if somebody's price.
He's more likely. Okay, you're overthinking. He's more likely to not get that business. He's more likely to not get that business because of that. That's just one more reason as to why he's less likely to get that business. Plus, if he's that desperate, I guarantee it's coming across on the phone. Okay. And because the process is already, it's not cut and dry. There's going to be some follow up involved. It's not going to be hard to imagine a lot of business going out the window. And here's the point: will he make enough to survive? Maybe. But do you really want to go after clients in your acquisition of your business and build your security on a maybe or a bunch of maybes? Right? You need to be going after the money. You need to be going after the money. I was talking to the mentorship earlier today, and someone brought up something about helping out or working with a low budget client, and it made it sound like it was a friend. I'm not sure if it was a friend that somebody was helping out, like with a campaign for call only ads, but it kind of felt that way. Either way, it said low budget client. How do I get optimize for a low budget client? And the interesting thing about that is helping a drowning man when you're drowning yourself. You're both going to drown. You understand that, right? Like that's basic. Basic anything, common sense. If somebody's drowning and you're drowning, you're not going to. You can be lucky to save yourself, right? But you need to save yourself first. That's the key. So before you can save someone else. So I'm not saying don't save someone. I'm saying what's the point if you both drown? There's no point. So in this case, you've got a client that you could go after that is on the lower end of things. But if you start with that guy, right? If you start with that client, you're drowning trying to help a drowning man, right? You're not starting from a position of strength. You're not starting from a position of ability to help them and help them well and help them quickly enough to actually make a difference in their business and survive to weather the storm, right? Whereas someone who's been in business 7-8 years, they're not going nowhere. And they may actually be the most, not desperate, but they may be the most open to hearing what you have to say clients. In fact, I'm going to guarantee it. Anyone that's been in inspections for 7-8 years up is going to be extremely open over the next 6 months to hear from you, more than they've ever been, and probably ever will be for the next, I don't know, till the next recession that we have, because we will have another one, guarantee it. I don't know when. This one was 2 years overdue, and it was a fluke that had happened from COVID, but it did. So there you have it.
Well, so your guidance to me has been really good in that I was thinking about going with this guy. He had a nice domain name, which I thought was pretty good. And I asked him, because when I called, it went to voicemail, left a message. He called me back within a minute or two, which I thought was good. But I asked him, did he have an answering service? Did he have the ability to have someone else answer the calls? And I asked him his vision for his company in that, would he be prepared to hire others so that he could farm work out and they work underneath him? And he was considering that, but he's not established. He works as a construction manager for a construction company, and he's been doing this for a number of years, but as a side gig. And he said he would love to do this full time. And I thought, he had a great domain name. He had I thought he could grow, but at the same time, he's not at that level.
This is a guy. This is a guy you come back to in 6 months.
Okay. What about my pricing of $35 a call? How would I find out whether that is worth it to me or not? Because I simply base it on Home Advisor charging $32 for
that's
call,
not.
which he says
that's not accurate. That's not going to be accurate for you to base that off of. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can do that. I guess other people do that, but that's not smart. Not in my book. The only way that I know to do it is called market research. I've taught you how to do it. I know you know what it is. I'm not going to do it for you. You're going to have to go and do it, right? I can do a little bit, but you need to go and do your market research, man. I mean, there's no getting around that. You need to do it. It's a requirement.
I understand. Okay. Just give me the 30,000-foot view in terms of the first steps for me to do it, in terms of what would be my cost per call, in terms of how would I go about finding that out in Google?
Well, the first thing I would want to look up is how much they're charging on average, and I would look at major metro areas. I would look at some rural areas, but not many. Mostly major metro and surrounding suburbs. I'd look at nationwide stats.
I've got the cities I want to go after. That was fairly easy from Google. The ones that are getting the most searches right now. But I don't know what it's costing me cost per call. I haven't looked in the keyword research.
What
it's going to be?
What's the only way to know that?
Create a campaign and put in some keywords.
There you go.
What they suggest is.
There you go. And run a campaign to who?
To myself or to some dummy clients. I can run a campaign to myself, answer the phone.
There's a reason.
Over to another.
There's a reason why I don't say dummy, right? Dummy clients. I call them a fake client, a flyant, right? Run campaign to a flyant. Run it to yourself. Field the calls yourself. I wouldn't advise doing that because you're not a home inspector. I would do a flyant, or set one up with someone that you know that's in the know, but is getting them for free, and you're just running it to them for free, and tell them you really are not trying to do business with them. You just want them to handle the calls well, right? So they're actually a flyant, but they actually know that they're a flyant. You can do that. There's a number of different possibilities for you to do that, but they all start with what? You running a campaign, right? Very simply put.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you're in question on or in the dark on about your market research that you need? Because I was about to give you a whole list.
No, I mean basically what I do is I go to SpyFu. I look at what people are, who's bidding for what keywords, what their keywords are. I look at their ads. I see when they were running ads, and I then go to Keywords Anywhere. I see what it says me. It tells me is a cost per click, but it doesn't tell me what the cost per call is. And then whatever numbers they give me is I double it to say, okay, well, only 1 in 2 is actually going to be connected. And so that's the base price that I need to cover at least.
That is a lot of hocus pocus. I'm not saying it's not.
Really?
Yeah. Here's why. What is the guarantee that you're going to get 1 and 2?
What do you mean 1 or 2?
1 and 2. You said one. You said to me 1 and 2. What is your guarantee that you're going to get 1 and 2 on calls? Where is that written? Where?
I'm assuming. I'm making the assumption that if somebody clicks on the.
But you're assuming.
If somebody clicks on a call.
But you're assuming.
Call that they're not going to connect. I'm assuming
Julian,
that only 1 and 2 is going to.
You should have stopped at the word assuming. You're done. Good night. You're done. I'll own you every time. You know why?
Because you'll have real data to look at.
Damn straight.
You spend the money to.
Damn straight. Yeah. Okay. So what? Okay. So let's back up. Are you concerned about spending money on this campaign to find out what your numbers are?
Not terribly. The reason.
What does not terribly mean? Give me a straight answer, man. Shoot me straight. I ain't got time for that. Not terribly. Dance around. Tell me the straight story. Are you concerned about how do you feel about spending $300 on a campaign?
I've got a Google campaign, a Google coupon that will cover $300.
Why are we even having this conversation? If you've got you're telling me you've got a coupon for $300 that'll cover $300. Why are we even having this conversation?
Well, initially I wanted to know whether home inspection was a good market to go after, and then
no. I don't mean the entire. Let me back up. I'm not trying to be mean, and I'm not trying to poke at you. I'm saying not the entire conversation. I'm talking about why are we having this conversation about what you need to do to get data. Why are you trying to jump around and hop around? Oh, well, SpyFu this and SpyFu that, and let me assume and get my ass handed to me by everybody else in the market. Like, why would you even want to do that? Why are you dancing around when you've got the best solution ever? I mean, it's free money. Why are we even continuing this conversation on the point of, not the entire conversation, just the point of getting data and running a campaign to get data versus you just throwing shit out there and hoping and praying it's right, assuming it's right. Like, why would you do that, right?
Okay.
Versus
Right.
run the
So,
campaign. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll run the campaign, put in some keywords, be very targeted, and send it to a client, somebody that has a whisper campaign saying you've got a hot lead provided by my company. Press 1 to connect, and they connect. I record the calls. I then follow up with them after they've sent them five to 10 calls, and say, do you want to continue getting calls from me? And this is the price. Now I know the numbers.
Absolutely not. I would never do that. I've never taught you to do that. There were so many things wrong with that statement. Let's back up. First off, you run calls to someone, you got to vet them a little bit without talking to them, or you can speak to them. If you find somebody you can run phone calls to that's a home inspector, that's totally cool and doesn't suspect you or isn't suspicious of you, like that you're going to come back to them and try to sell them. Do not try to sell someone ever. That's my motto on a client side. Like, if you're running a fake client campaign, in other words, a campaign to generate data, run it to get the data. Do not run it with the expectations of calling this person back. Now, if he were to hit you up and say, man, I really want those calls to keep coming, have the conversation, right? There's no point for you to do that, because your only purpose, this is where people get screwed up all the time. Why do people think that I'm teaching them to run a fake client campaign? They think that I'm going to tell them to do exactly what you just said you were going to do, which is call up the client or call up the potential client and try and sell them, and, oh, you want this to keep coming. That's ransom. You're basically ransoming, you're holding hostage, and not in a good way. It's not a good feeling to say, hey, man, that whole time that you've been staying alive, yeah, that was me. You want to keep staying alive? You got to come to me. Is that a great way to start a relationship?
That's not the way I was looking at it. The way I was looking at it is I was giving you stuff free and you put money in your pocket, and you're not actually spending money from me because I've actually sent you a business.
Have you, and I'm asking seriously, have you ever run a business locally, like brick and mortar?
No.
You really got to talk. You really need to talk to some people that have, because I can tell you right now, it's counterintuitive to what you're expecting. If you came to me and told me that the last, if I know him as a business owner in the back of my mind, okay, I've had 20 calls in the last month, and this guy's telling me he's driven 10 of them, and now all of a sudden I've got to come up off of, $350 to keep doing the month that I just had, but the month that I just had wasn't as great as it needed to be because of the dip going on in the market, right? I'm talking specifically about this market. Am I going to feel good about you coming to me with that? If anything, I'm going to try to do what? As a business owner, someone comes to you and tells you, I'm holding you hostage. You have two options. You can give in to the kidnapper, right? The hostage taker, right? The terrorist, if you want to think about it that way. Or you can do what?
William, those are aggressive,
adversarial
things. I'm saying
hey,
to you,
this
hot free lead is provided by my company name. Press 1 to connect.
No.
Now they get familiar with my company.
I'm talking about once you've got them hooked. Think about this for a second. Heroin, right? Drugs, any kind of drug really, but heroin specifically, they get them hooked. They give them a free taste and get them hooked, and now what? They have to come back. The relationship between that dealer and that person taking the drugs, right? The drug addict, is that a healthy relationship? It's not. It's not. It's really not. And not only is it not healthy, a lot of bad things happen between the dealer and the people that are on the drugs, the drug addicts, because not just because of the drug, but because they have to have it, and so they reach a point where they have to have it, but they don't have what it takes, so they do whatever it takes to get to it, right? And when you're talking about times like these, right, in COVID, you think of it as strong language, but these businesses are literally fighting for their lives. So when you come to them and rip the rug out from under them like that, they are not going to appreciate that. And not only are they not going to appreciate that, they're going to see if they can find a way around you. Not through you, not with you, around you. They're not going to want to work with you. And I'm not saying that everyone's going to be that way. I'm saying most of them. And that's enough for me to pay attention. In other words, I'm not looking for that 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 that are going to say yes to that deal. I want the other 8 that will say yes to a deal that where they don't have that feeling and the relationship is not started off that way, because that sets a precedent for how the rest of the relationship, the business relationship, is going to go. And the last thing I want to do is make my clients feel like I'm holding them hostage, right? I want them to feel embraced and feel grateful that not only were they able to survive, but they're able to thrive with me and grow with me, right, as for their business. They're not going to get that feeling starting out like that, right? And I guess you could argue 2 different perspectives, 2 different points of view, but I'm telling you right now, most of these businesses were already fighting to stay alive or to continue growing, and then COVID happens, and you're going to come in and yank the rug out from under them like that. That's in a business where it's not transactional. It's a multi-call deal. It's a timeline on the deals that they do. It's not a okay, here's my pack of gum, and here's 98 cents or $1.50 or whatever. I think it's $1.50 for gum, and then you walk away with your gum. It's not very transactional in that market, and that's fine. Just understand what you're attempting to do, who your market really is, what they're actually going through. I think there's a failure. Maybe it's because of the market research or lack of. There's a serious failure to understand where they're coming from and what they're currently dealing with. And I feel like that's going to cost you not only on the acquisition side for clients, but how the relationship develops between you and the clients. So to back up on the client side, I'm not saying you're a terrorist, by the way. I know those are strong words. I'm saying don't be that guy, right? Don't be that guy, because you're setting them up. You're going to yank the rug out from under them. They're not going to like that at all. Instead, what you could do is run a Flyant campaign and run it for the data. Because when you take out of the equation, right, when you're able to separate that from, oh, I got to go get that guy as a client, that fixates you for some reason, and then not just you, everybody that tries to do this, that fixates you on that one possibility, when really you should be looking at everybody else and let that guy or gal come to you or not, right? Because at the end of the day, you have what you needed to get out of it, which was the data. Right? The data, the qualified calls, and you're going to get a lot of actual feedback from, if you make contact with that client, you're going to get a lot of insight and feedback from that fake client on how they operate and what they are going through mindset-wise. So it helps you on your market research, it helps you on your data, and it helps you gain the confidence you need, which is the whole purpose of the Flyant. Start a campaign, which you haven't done yet. Get the Flyant, get the calls coming in, and get the data, and now you can go out with the confidence that you need to be able to get the clients that you really want. Now, what happens if this guy that you're running calls to isn't one that you would bring on as a client? You've been running free calls, and you're just going to automatically call him up to sell him the calls that he's been receiving that he loves so much. I mean, business owners don't think like that, by the way. Business owners don't love calls. Business owners don't love calls. We do, because we know the calls drive the money, right? We know that. The other thing we don't say is another hot lead. We don't say the word lead. Lead's a bad word. You know that, and have known that for some time. Don't say the word lead, please, unless you want to sound like everybody else. If you want to sound like everybody else, say lead. If you want to sound unique, like you are, and represent accurately the unique services that you offer, then you definitely want to say call, phone call, live phone calls, another live phone call from Julian, right? However you want to say it, but just no lead. Please don't say lead. So understand, I'm not
So
not digging at you. I just want you to understand that there's things that you could do that are going to be much better for you, though.
how best then to approach a so-called client? Is it simply I start sending the calls and I record them and I listen in, or I tell them, look, I'm looking to get into this area, but I'm going to start generating calls of people looking for your services, and I'm wondering if you'd be willing to take part in the beta service, in the beta program. I'm not going to charge you for the calls, and we're looking to see whether or not it's viable in your area. But we do want somebody who's qualified to take care of them. If you want to take part, I'll send them to you. Something along those lines?
No, it's too wishy-washy. Plus, there were some trigger words that you said in there, like beta, right? Beta program implies what?
That's new.
Besides that, what else does it imply? Beta is before what?
Fully developed. Before general.
It's not fully developed, right? But that's not what I'm driving at. That's okay, especially if he's getting it for free. That's not the problem.
Mhm.
Beta leads to what? Beta for free leads to what?
Well, obviously, at some point I'm going to charge him for it if he wants to continue after the program's finished.
Correct.
Now,
do you really think that he didn't? Here's the point. Do you really think he didn't pick that up when you said beta? Instantly, right away. They're going to know. You're trying to do what?
Well, I tell him the reason why I'm running the beta program or running the program is that I'm looking to see the demand in his area.
No, that's not what he knows you're trying to do. What are you trying to do? Come on, man, get real. What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get him to service customers.
Right. For the end purpose. Yeah, but he's in your beta program, which implies that he's going to be charged at some point, which means what to him? You're trying to what him?
Well, the word that comes to mind is hoodwink, but I don't really believe that.
No, you're trying to do what?
Upsell?
You're close. You almost had it. What's the one thing people don't want you to do when you're on the phone with them? The one thing they don't want you to do.
Sell them?
Yes. Very good. Very good. That you're trying to sell him. They're going to pick you up a mile away. You know why? Because you're trying to sell him. Even if it's future paced and down the road. Stop future pacing. Strictly talk about what you need, which is the data. Listen, how do I approach them? You approach them as in, I've got phone calls coming in. I need somebody who can take care of them, but they're going to be free to you. And when they say, okay, that's bullshit, what's the catch? You say, no, really, I don't have anybody in your area. I'm not trying to sell you on something. You're not going to pay anything for it. In fact, I'll set you up with the back office right now. I just need to be able to make sure these calls are getting serviced. Did I say anything about a beta program? Did I say anything about following up in the future? None of that shit, man. Cut it all out. You don't need it. Because they're going to ask you already. They're already going to be skeptical because you're offering something for free. And if they persist and ask you why, you say, listen, I'm expanding nationwide. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to sell everybody else in the country. Now, listen, if you like the calls and later on you want to give me money, hey, we'll talk, but I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to drive phone calls. Can you take care of them or not? Are you the right guy? And then you need to qualify them. You need to actually find out the same qualifying questions. This helps you develop your qualifying questions for the real guys, by the way. Notice I said real guys. So where's my focus on sales? Where's my main concern on sales? Is it with this guy, this fake client, or is it with everybody else?
With everybody else.
Why?
Because now you have the data, and now you can expand it. You can say to somebody generally and truthfully, I've got calls coming in, and I need somebody to take care of them.
There's so many more reasons than that, but yes. There's so many more reasons than that, but yes. Here's what's interesting. Does that guy, if I have that focus, does that guy now, as a fake client, fall under my focus, under sales?
No.
Yes, he does. Absolutely. But only after what happens?
Only after I gathered the data, then.
Yes.
And
So now do you understand why I say you could never reach out to that guy ever again? I mean, I think that would be kind of crazy. I think you should, not necessarily to sell him, but to get more data, right? More market research. That's what I would reach out to him for. But even if you reached out to sell him, you have to pretend like, or tell yourself, make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to sell him or say anything sales wise to him, period, unless he says, I want to continue getting your phone calls. Because that keeps your focus where it needs to be, which is on gathering the data, which produces the massive success in the agency. Or you could go the other route and try and sell somebody and fixate on them and feel like a failure and try to understand why shit's not working and go that route with it. I mean, you could do that. I just would rather you see you do, the other way and make a shit ton of money and actually be able to help this guy, come back and help this guy. Just you've got to work on how you see things. I think that's the biggest thing. You've got to be able to see the market. You've got to be able to, from this entire conversation, right? You've got to be able to see the market. You've got to be able to see what they're actually going through, what they're thinking, how that makes them feel. Do you understand what I was saying about the rug and everything?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
You may not agree with it. You may listen to me. You may not agree.
Go ahead.
You may not agree with it, but I guarantee you call up your market, start doing some research, and ask them that as a question. Hey, how would you feel if I was delivering phone calls to you for free, like 5 of them for free or 10 of them for free, and then called you up and you hadn't spoke to me prior to this? You got to tell them the straight scoop. You got to give them the straight story, right? And tell them, you haven't talked to me before this, but you've been getting some phone calls, you don't know where from, and then you get a phone call from me and I'll tell you, hey, you like those phone calls and I come from this approach, how are you going to feel? Ask them how they'll feel about it, and I guarantee you're going to get the worst negative response you've ever gotten in your life, because they don't have time for bullshit and games. They don't have time for people that have, especially people that think they have the leverage. Just all they got to do is just hang up the phone on you and not ever talk to you again. And you're either going to do what? Keep sending them free leads, or you're not. And either way, they got something out of it and didn't have to do anything for it, or you get the point. And I'm not saying everyone's going to be that way. I'm just saying most people are going to react that way, because that is just. I'll give you a good understanding. Most of the time, the markets are in stagnant or growth, which is great. The markets, we're talking like the economy, and I'm talking world economy too, not just the U.S. But most of the time, we're stagnant or growth, which is great. But in the windows where we're at right now, in the economic side of things, this is like. Every move you make, especially for a local business owner, they look at it as you're taking food off their plate. Even if you're legitimately providing them more food on their plate, they only look at what you're taking, not what you're giving. I know that's the dumbest freaking thing, but that's called survival mode. Okay? That is what survival mode looks like. Welcome, right? And you need to really put yourself in their shoes. It's going to help you understand what they're going through and how they're going to react to your offer, right? And I gave you some other pointers too. Stay away from the word leads. Stay away from like leveraged. I love leverage. I just don't like leverage in a deal. I don't like leveraging people into a deal, making them feel like I've already been kind of doing business with you. I just haven't been paying you yet. That's leveraging someone into a deal. It's not a. It's not the most. If somebody I knew was doing that, if a friend of mine decided as a surprise to drive phone calls to me in my local business, while I would be grateful at the same time, the first question I would ask is, why is he doing it and how is he doing it? Those would be my first questions. Why and how, right? The why is because I don't understand. Like, I just cannot comprehend, because I'm so wrapped up into my local business and making sure I keep my head above water that I don't have time to look at the 30,000 foot view, right? So I look at the why,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to know how. Why do I want to know the how? Because I want to be able to do it for myself, because I know that my friend's probably going to stop doing it. He told me about it. He's probably going to stop, unless he tells me he's going to not stop doing it. You're not a friend. You're a complete stranger to these people. And even if you had spoken to them once, which you haven't in this case, you're approaching them cold. Yes, you've delivered phone calls. That does not mean you are their best friend. That does not mean they even like you. Right? It's as cold can be, skeptical and everything. They may not even believe you're the one who's actually driving those phone calls. They may not be the one answering the phone and may not even know that you've been driving the phone calls to them. You could show them the back office, talk about the person who is answering the phone, Tina, or assistant-wise or whatever, answering the phone, and have recordings to show them in the back office, and they're still going to have difficulty processing that, let alone getting to the point of trust to give you money. It's actually worse than if you were just to approach them cold, flat out. Because now it's not only cold, it's like you've got to ice skate uphill to get to the point where it was if you'd have just called them cold. You follow? Like you way in the hole. It's totally opposite of what, and that's most calls, not all of them, but most. And I don't want you wasting time with the 2 out of 8 or 2 out of 10. I want you to spend your time on the 8 out of 10, right? That's where your sweet spot is. That's your money. So forget about the positioning of the offer. Focus on for the client. Focus on the data. Gather that. Produce the qualified calls. Build that relationship. And if you do that even half as well as I'm describing, they're going to be knocking down your door to pay you for calls, to continue paying you for calls, and you won't ever have to say a word. Does that make? Are you following what I'm saying?
I believe so.
Okay.
William. The main difference is the approach in being upfront and letting them know that I'm going to drive phone calls and my motivation why I'm doing it, and letting them know that I need to let them know it's only for a limited time, though, right? That it's not going to be forever.
Yeah, tell them this.
Right?
Tell them this. Hey, I this is what I do for a living. I drive phone calls for a living. I'm expanding into the home inspections market, and I figured I'd start in this city. And based on what I've seen so far on Yelp reviews and/or research, which you should be doing research first, you seem like to be the most reputable around. You got a high review, and I'm not trying to sell you these. You're going to have to emphasize that a couple times, right? A few times, maybe more, to really help them understand. Like, have a back office ready to go. Ask them for their email address, set up the back office, let them log into it, and explain to them, okay, this is the deal, and I'm going to set up, like I said, I'm not going to charge you for this. I mean, you're helping me out, really. I'm going to be, and let them know what's in it for you. You got to tell them all this kind of stuff. And then the next call you make, it's going to be like after they set an appointment, and they're going to be like, man, that was a good call. But you call them up and you say, hey, how was that last call? It sounded pretty good. And you're like, yeah, man, if I could get 10 of those a day, I'd be rich or whatever. And you have those conversations with them and dig deeper than that. That's where you get more of your market research on what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're going through, all that kind of stuff, right? Gives you some real insight. Let me tell you something. Nobody talks more and higher quality conversation or better than someone who just scored a $1,000 deal or in some cases, a $50,000 deal from a call that you just drove. You'll get a half an hour from that guy because it's worth it to him, right? He didn't pay shit for it. Or even if he did pay for it, he paid $50 for a $50,000 deal is essentially what he's looking at it as. And you get all the information you ever wanted, market research-wise. That's from existing clients and from a client. Now, that all said, most times when I advise people to go and set up a client, I advise to not approach live the client, to just do it stealth, because you have no intention of selling that person anyway. So the only reason I'm saying you should probably talk to an inspector or a few is to pre-qualify a little bit, since you're going to be on the phone, and use that time to hone your qualifying questions. After your market research, you got to do that first. then you can also use it to expand and develop the relationship, not to sell them, right? Not to sell them, to understand what makes them tick so that you can sell everybody else, right? The way I look at it is I'm sacrificing one person. I say one person. It's not even truly a sacrifice. A lot of times you'll get them as a client. They'll come to you. A lot of times they won't. Okay? But I don't care because I got what I needed out of it, more than I needed out of it. I got my data. I got qualified calls and recordings of that I can put on my site and I can put in my emails. I can show off in my back office. I got a deep understanding of the market, not just the market research, but an actual live conversation with someone in the trenches. That's going to be super, super valuable for me in my conversations for the sales side, right? And I got my confidence that I need, that I can deliver phone calls in this market that are qualified. I know the pricing in which I can deliver them in, and I know I can sell them because this guy over here asked me for the business or was at least interested. Yeah, I'm going to make some money in this. And that's all. I mean, anything more than that, that's the even if you sacrificed him and he never asked you for business, right? Or for the calls to keep coming, not because he wasn't happy, because he could be unhappy. You could drive 5 calls that were qualified to him, and he could still be unhappy. Does that have any bearing or reflection whatsoever on your abilities to drive a qualified phone call? No, none whatsoever. The numbers are what the numbers are, right? You run qualified phone calls, there's going to be plenty of home inspectors out there right now that appreciate that, let me tell you. Okay? In fact, all of them will. But the ones with the deeper roots are your target, so you're going to go after those first. So that said, you've got all these benefits, all from one person, whom, if you do it the way I'm teaching you, you never expected to get the business from anyway. You treated them as an equal and someone whom you just kind of co-partnered with, maybe like a co-op, but they got benefit from it too. It's not like you're the only one winning here. I'm just listing out all your benefits, right? All those benefits, though, translate into what? All the other clients you're going to get much, much easier. Your learning curve is shortened. Your confidence is at an all-time high. You're able to deliver phone calls and price out and make a profit. The satisfaction and the sleep at night that I'm going to save you by going that route is unlike anything you've ever experienced in terms of building a business before, right? It's very reassuring, which is good. It's good for you because you're going to need that. Start taking out all the guesswork. If you got question marks, ask. If it comes down to, I need to do my market research, then go do your market research before you start making more questions and building more questions on questions, because that's where you get into trouble. And not just you, I'm talking about everybody here, okay? Keep that in mind. That's where you can get in trouble. If you have one unanswered question, it could turn into 2 and then 3. If you keep thinking about it, you can come up with half a dozen or more, all from one unanswered question, and a lot of what ifs, and then that turns into speculation, analysis paralysis, and then you're not doing shit. Okay, so instead, come all the way back to the point. You've got market research to do, and you've got a client to set up with a campaign, right? And okay. I'll tell you something else. We had this whole conversation, which, by the way, is a great conversation. Thank you for coming on. I'd like to say that. Hope you didn't take too much offense to me saying the word terrorist. That is a strong word. But you know what? Let me tell you something. If you were running a business that paid you $2,000 a month, but the numbers you're working with, like your overhead is $30,000 a month, and you're making $40,000, and then you got expenses to pay on top of that, plus you've got not just overhead, but you've also got like taxes. So now you're making $2,000-$3,000 a month. You realize your cash flow in and out is mid 6 figures a year, but you're not even taking home 6 figures. That is nerve-wracking. That is not for the weak-willed, right? To deal in 6-figure numbers and only take home less than 6 figures? Are you shitting me? That's crazy.
I saw the number that Sears shoes were doing, and I thought they were ridiculous.
You see what I'm saying?
Selling $100 million worth of shoes. No, $100 million worth of shoes.
Yeah.
But making $1 million in profit.
Do you see what I'm saying? The margins are just they're not only ridiculous, but they're now if you small business owners aren't going to be doing 100 million and $1 million in return on that in profit on that. But my point is that the margins are much worse than you think, and you're dealing with larger numbers in terms of revenue that has to change hands and go places, and then you end up with whatever's in your pocket after it's all said and done. That presents a problem, actually several problems, but the biggest one is going to be you do not have the luxury, in other words, of screwing up this month, right? And a screw up could be completely out of your hands, like a dip in the market. So when I look at 60, I point at my screen here. When I look at 60% decrease in market share over the next quarter alone, and they project next year it's going to be worse, and then come back to where it is, where it was in 2019, this time next year. Okay, great. Well, that's a year. That's 12 months from now. Like, what happens in those 12 months? It could get pretty hairy, in other words, and it could get even worse. It also, we don't know if we're getting another stimulus. We don't know if life is even going to not come back to normal, but because I don't think that's ever going to happen. But we don't know if things are going to improve to a state where we don't know if we're going to have a vaccine anytime soon. Probably not. There's a lot of what ifs that can and variables that can affect this particular industry, right? And what I would say to you is the one industry in the housing world that will not see a negative impact, the one that will not see a negative impact, if anything, will see a positive growth, is going to be what? It's not home inspection. What is it going to be? In the housing world. In the housing world.
2 years? For the next 2 years?
Yeah. They're not going to see a decrease in growth. They're going to see an increase in growth. What is it?
There's going to be two. There's going to be home repossessions through forced tax sales, and there's going to be more foreclosures, and there's going to be.
Those aren't really good for. Those aren't really great for pay per call, right? What's one vertical in the housing world that that I teach on, that I actually have a copy of a campaign ready to go inside of Ring Ads Mirror? What is the one industry that's going to show growth over the next couple of years in the housing market? Has to do with houses. It's not home inspection, and if it's not home inspection, and there's a 60% decrease in homes, right? Home sales. It's not realtors either, right? So what is it?
Is it moving companies?
There you go. Because people got to move, and where are they moving to? Everywhere. They're moving from homes, they're moving to homes, they're moving from apartments, they're moving to apartments, they're moving from a bigger apartment to a smaller apartment, they're moving shit from storage to an apartment, they're moving shit from an apartment to storage, and so on and so on. Moving never stops, does it?
Yeah.
And when times are good,
nope, it doesn't stop. People
are moving up, and when times are bad, people are moving down. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's moving and storage.
Moving and storage. Well, storage is not going to be as good a business because that's a finite amount, and there's occupancy rate. It's not the same as it's not going to be a good. It's not going to be a good. Yeah, moving is while it's finite and there's a certain amount of crews, they can expand that. They can add trucks. They can add people to handle the demand. So it's not the same. Whereas storage units. Most storage places have a set amount of land and a set amount of units to occupy, and that's it, right? Unless they're adding more units, which they don't do all the time, if ever. So yeah, not the same business. Moving. So I'm not gonna discourage you. Listen to me. I'm not gonna discourage you from going after housing inspectors. If that's a market you want to go after, understand it's going to be a little more niche right now.
I just thought it was a less under the radar kind of niche, and although I saw moving companies
Yep.
as being huge, I looked at Google Trends, and it was cyclical. It was very similar to home inspection in terms of volume.
Yep.
But I saw that it's just the same. It's nationwide, and I do know that moving companies are paying affiliates for referrals.
Yep.
And I do know that they charge anything from $500 up.
Oh yeah.
Because when I moved, I moved stuff 12 miles across town. It cost $550, and it was an hour. It took an hour of time, and it was $550, and that was their least cost to do it. And then if they're moving from somewhere like San Diego to Houston, well, that's going to be a whole lot more money.
Yep. That's called long distance.
People are doing this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I did buy the domain Atlas Movers, and I did buy the domain Pro Moving Guys or something like that. So it was in my radar to go after those. If I was to go after, because I haven't committed, I just did the research for home inspection and so forth, and I figured, that was probably less people contacting them to get business. And I figured also that there's less red tape because you're dealing with one or two guys, not dealing with a big company.
Sometimes you are. Sometimes you are dealing with a big company.
Maybe. Okay. But I figured it'd be fairly easy for me to get into that area, and it didn't seem like there was a lot of keywords necessary to do home inspection. There are the reasons why in terms of infrared scanning or radon testing or things like that. But I figured it'd be, and then the sites I've seen for home inspection guys are just in 1 or 2 pages. They've been very, very slim sites, not a whole lot to go up to.
That's because most of them. That's because most of them get their business from word of mouth or dealing with referral networking through realtors and title companies and all that kind of shit, right? That's how most of them get their business. They've been in business for 20 years, and they're going to stay in business the next 20 because they've just been in business this whole time. And it's rough on them to get their start initially, right? That whole story, that whole song and dance. But that's not the only way for them to get business, is my point. And the best people right now, based on the dip, right? I said it's not a bad vertical. It's just not the greatest right now, especially. You're going to have to shift your targeting to the deeper root people. Look for those businesses that need your help to stay alive, right? Maybe their roots aren't as deep as they need to be, but they're definitely not saplings. They're definitely not little bitty baby trees. And I'm not saying all the baby trees are going to be gone. Some, just like a flood, man. I mean, when a flood comes in or a hurricane comes in, not all the small trees, and some big trees fall down too, right? Some big trees didn't have strong roots, right? It's not just about how deep the roots are. Sometimes you get the point. Sometimes big trees fall and sometimes small ones fall. But a lot more smaller trees fall than bigger trees fall, right?
Let me ask you a point of technicality.
Sure.
When a call comes in using our system, is the call ID of the person who's calling transferred or visible to the end user, or are they just seeing my call-in number?
That's a good question. They're going to see the call number from the actual person who's calling.
Yeah, that's what
caller
I told
ID.
them. That they see them. Yeah, that's what I told them. Okay, I was just, because I haven't run it, I wasn't sure, but that's what I thought that they would see. And is it that if they miss a call, they get notified by text or an SMS message or something that they've had to miss call?
There are options that you can set in the campaign for email and SMS, right? You can set it to send either or both. You can send it. You can set it to send on different notifications. Like if you're billing them, you can alert them. Like there's 4 options there that you can select.
Yeah. Okay. I told them that that's what that would happen if they missed the call. Then they would be notified by SMS or by text, SMS or by email. But I did say I would like that if you miss a call that you contact them back right away. I'm not sending it to multiple people. I'm sending it just to you. But I do have the ability to limit the numbers of calls you get in terms of if you only want a certain number, that you can be limited to that way. Or if I set up somebody else, I can do round robin whereby whoever gets the call, answers it, gets the lead. It's always exclusive. Or I could do whereby it alternates between one client and another client depending upon demand. Those are both correct?
Yeah, and I would pick a city, like you said, you've got some mapped out. Do your market research. Pick a city that you like, and pick 2 or 3 people, and have this and have 2 or 3 clients. Run them all on the same campaign and run them round robin, because one of those guys is going to be solid. And if you're running 3 of them, you're gonna be able to get 3 different data sets, have those 3 different conversations, right? Which is much better. Anytime you can have 3 conversations with 3 different business owners in the same industry, it's better than 1 conversation, right? I mean, 3 versus 1, that's going to be better. More data to pull. You're also going to have more data campaign-wise to pull. And you're also going to find out more about qualifiers for the types of clients you want, because you're going to be running one campaign to 3 different potential clients, and I say potential clients meaning clients. You're going to be running 3 clients. That's, that right there would be, if you're going to communicate to them beforehand, again, make sure that they understand you're not ever going to try to sell them anything. You're open to them asking you, but that is not the conversation today. Today, I'm trying to send phone calls because I'm expanding into this market. So really, you're going to, and if they ask if they're going to get some calls that aren't qualified, you can say, yeah, you're going to get a couple of those, but you're going to get the good ones for free too. So if they're not qualified, just hang up, like you do already, dude. Like you telling me you don't get unqualified calls without me. Of course they do. They know that. So yeah, have those conversations. I think a lot of people underestimate how valuable those conversations are. And especially for after you've done your market research and transitioning to going after your actual clients, some of the best data you'll pull are from your clients. And I don't mean just data campaign-wise. Campaigns, yeah, absolutely. But the conversations, oh man, that last call was a such and such call, and that was perfect. If I could have 20 of those, and that's where you focus a lot of your targeting. Not all of it, but a lot of it. Why? Because that means when you go and get your actual clients and your optimization is focused on that, what they said was the moneymaker for them, it's most likely going to be the moneymaker for everybody else. Not always, but in most cases. And that's what we're looking for. We're just looking for, it's homing, right? It's a homing signal. It's sonar. That's all it is, man. You ping it, and you go towards it. You don't know exactly where it's at yet. It's off over to the left. Because we pinged it, and that's where the ping came from. Okay, so we go towards the left, and we ping again. That's all we're doing here. Do we want to go for the market that's taking a 60% hit, and for the next 6 months at least? Probably not. And if we do, still decide to go for that market, do we want to go into it half cocked and not know anything market research wise? No. Do we want to go into it, try and guess what our cost per call is going to be? Hell no. That's a hell no on that one. So we need to clarify some things, get some things in order, do the market research, get the price per call established, and then we've got 3 clients running in the same area, round robin. You're going to find out that what's good in your potential clients that you're looking for, and what's bad in your potential clients that you're not looking for, and what to qualify based on. You're going to find out what their dream phone calls sound like and what they are. You're going to have recordings of that to use in your sales materials. You're going to have the confidence and know your cost per call. You're going to have the confidence that you can drive qualified calls, and you're going to have a campaign that's optimized up to a certain point, maybe not fully, but enough for you to have that same confidence on client number 1, client number 2, client number 3, and you're going to know how they think, how that makes them feel, where they're coming from, and how to sell to them better, how to relate to them better. So many benefits for you on just running it that way. It's not an exact science, but it's pretty damn close. The last thing I'll tell you, so you notice I'm not telling you to shy away from that industry. I'm just telling you be prepared. Like it was already not niche to begin with. Let's say this. Compared to the other verticals I teach, it's niche. Not a bad thing, and it is a little more obscure. I'm okay with that. I'm not putting it down by any means. Just because it's smaller doesn't mean it's bad. It's fine. Understand what comes the problems.
Google Trends was showing that there was still a lot of search volume. And it was right up there with moving companies.
Right, I understand that.
I don't know how accurate that is.
I understand.
But it's like, yeah. And I just figured, even though they don't get as much money, it's still more than a towing company in general.
Well, you would think, right? I can tell you right now that's bullshit. But again, that's because I know and you're guessing. But the only way I know is how.
You have some experience running numbers and running campaigns.
I have experience. I've seen the numbers. I have experience. I've seen the numbers. Keep it simple. I have experience. I've seen the numbers. That's it. That's the only difference between me and you, dude, in terms of what our decision-making matrix is based off of in this business model. That's why I'm trying to help you on that the most. That's all. You've got some very, very small tweaks, my friend. Very, very small. They feel probably bigger because they are a bit radical of a mindset shift to you in terms of thinking like that business owner, and you're taking. They don't look at the food. You could dump a mountain of food on their plate. They don't give a shit. They're looking at the piece of food that you took off their plate. That's what they're looking at every time. And you could overwhelm them with calls. I've done this before, and I've taught people that have come to me and said, "What do I do? I'm sending so many calls. This guy can't even keep up, but he's nagging me about the price of the call." And I'm like, "Well, why is he nagging you at the price of the call? Have you not talked to him and communicated about the value of the calls and the jobs that he's pulling from that?" Well, no, he's just saying it's just not. The reason he's saying that is because he's got too many calls. In other words, he's trying to tell you to slow down. He's not actually telling you the value is not there. He's telling you the only thing he can think of to tell you to slow down, right? It's the only way he knows how to tell you. So people talk in code, unfortunately. Most people don't want to be sold to. What do they say? Do they say, "I don't want to be sold to"? No, they say shit like, "Well, send me some information." "Well, I'll think about it." "Well, I got to talk to my partner, my wife, my dog." "Well, I'm not the one that makes that decision." "Well, last time I talked did business with somebody about phone calls, I got burned." That's what they say. Right? They're not exactly talking in code, but they kind of are. What they really mean is, "I don't know you. I've been down this road before. At least I think I have, from the way you sound, and I don't know if this is going to work or not." Right? What you have to do is show them the minimized risk, the qualified calls that you've driven, if you've got them, and say they've got very, very little to risk. And there's no risk of them getting scanned because it's on a credit card. They can file a chargeback, no problem. Takes away all the risk. Right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So understand.
Yeah.
Not saying the housing inspection market is bad. I'm not saying it's less than or anything like that. It's different, and it poses different challenges than what I normally teach. All right. The markets I normally teach, they're all listed inside of Mirror. I covered them, gave them a great detailed overview in the Ring Ads Prime updates and also the COVID Client Challenge. But your market, housing inspection, understand it's a bit smaller. Okay, it's not like there's millions of home inspectors out there. It's just not. I don't even think there's millions in the world, let alone the U.S. Okay, so that's not it. The ticket price is there. The volume would be there if the demand was there, but the demand, as you saw, is going to be taken and already has taken a little bit of a hit there, is about to take a huge fucking hit. Okay, huge, man, huge. 60%? When's the last time you heard that? 07, 08, right? That kind of hit. Okay, think about that for a second. Maybe worse. Maybe worse. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm just, hey man, we live in a COVID world, post-COVID. That's the world we live in right now, my man. Think about that for a minute. Who knows, in other words? Who the hell really knows? But it's Zillow. If there ever was an authority on what the numbers are, they're saying 60%. right? They would know. Okay, they would know.
Mm-hmm.
They may be even trying to be generous on it, be nice about it. Maybe it's 80. Who knows? That's my point. And you're stepping into that industry. Now you can do a lot of good in there, but you're going to have to make sure you can help the people that can be helped. That's the qualifiers, right? That's why I say, hey, go after those 3 clients, one targeted area, round robin campaign, dial it in, and you're going to be able to do that out of the gate when you're first with your first client. You're going to be able to help people, and that's good because you're going to know who you're looking for, what you can do for them, what they're going to gain from it, why they should be doing business with you, why they're going to love you 5 years from now as well as 3 months from now. All those things, you're going to have that all covered. And you can, I'll tell you right now, you can make some serious money in this vertical. There's no doubt, especially when markets are good. And you have access to right now in that market clients you wouldn't normally have access to because most of the time, most of the time they're carrying around this this pride or this ego. Well, I've been in business 30 years. I don't need no damn phone calls, right? That's how not all of them are thinking, and they definitely don't talk that way. But that's what a lot of them are thinking, or in that line of, well, I get my business from such and such referrals. But when that shit dries up, right? That's the key. When it dries up, or as it's drying up, which is right now, on into next year, that's where you come in. That's where they're like, oh man, I've had a business for 30 years. That's how the conversations are. Man, I've been in business for 30 years, and here I am facing the 6 months that could put me under. Right here, this could be it. Right here, that's what they're thinking. If they haven't put away 6 months emergency fund, which most people haven't in the United States, most people don't put back savings like that. So you're looking at it and you're like, man. And by the way, home inspectors, are they people that buy homes, or are they people that rent apartments?
People who buy homes.
Yeah, and do they buy one home, or do they buy more than one?
Well, it depends. I mean, there are those people who are investors who still buy multiple homes, and they still need to get homes inspected.
No,
and then there are those people who
you're missing my question. My question was housing inspectors, home inspectors, specifically those people, not everybody else. Do they buy homes or do they not?
They do not.
They do not buy homes. Where do they live then?
They live in the town or close to the town that they're serving.
But they don't buy homes?
Well, I mean, yes, they buy their own home.
They buy their own home.
But
okay.
They're not.
But they're not what?
Yeah. I mean, they're not doing it, generally speaking, as an investment.
They're not?
They're doing it for others.
They're not? Really?
Well, they might. I mean, they might be. I don't know. I mean,
they might be.
I spoke with the construction manager. I mean, they could well be seeing homes that are coming on the market and being investors and getting the first dibs to know what's wrong with it and being able to put a value on it, and then maybe they do buy homes, or maybe they work for a mortgage company and they have the mortgage company taking the home back and they want to get it appraised and seeing what conditions it's in. I really don't know, to be honest with you.
I got you, but here's my point. Do realtors buy homes?
Yes.
Do realtors buy more than one home?
Yes, if they're a realtor and investor at the same time, they do.
Most realtors become investors. Maybe not when they start out, but that's their goal, is to invest in real estate and expand their portfolio over time, right? That's the goal of a realtor, a successful realtor anyway. Or put their money in other investments maybe, but most of the time realtors are sold on the idea of land and a home, and they buy multiples, right? It's definitely what happened in the 07-08 crash, okay? So home inspectors, you really think they're not in on that gig? You gotta be kidding me, man, right? Like, that's that's a no-brainer. And I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying a lot of them. Why? Because that's their industry. So do they have the ties and know what what hot markets are? Do they know about all the tips and things they pick up from their realtor friends or their referral networks that are in the same industry as them? Hey, my realtor buddy just picked up a house in this neighborhood, and then a second realtor buddy of mine just picked up another house in that exact same neighborhood, and then I just had 2 inspections from 2 completely different independent sources that also bought houses in that neighborhood. Holy shit, maybe I should buy a house in that neighborhood, right? And then they wait and they find the right one that's that's the deal in that neighborhood, and then they pick it up. Like I'm not saying all home inspectors are that way, but I guarantee you there's going to be some home inspectors that are also investors long term, right? For their portfolio. That's how they look at it. And home inspectors are going to run into, just because a home is inspected, does that mean the deal is going to go through?
No.
No.
It's pre-purchase.
Right, it's pre-purchase. So do some of those deals fall through?
Oh, yes.
And who would know if those deals fall through or not, or could potentially know if those deals fall through or not in that process?
Well, it would be a real estate agent.
They
would know whether somebody was.
The inspector would know, wouldn't they?
No.
Sure, they would.
They know because they are called in to give an unbiased, qualified report to the mortgage company as to the value and condition of the home. They don't know whether or not the person was approved for the loan. That's the real estate person or the mortgage broker.
But can they keep their eye on that property to see if it was sold, is my point. Yeah. I can do it.
Yeah,
listen, dude, I can do it myself from Zillow. I'm not even I don't even have to be in the industry, and I can do it. Okay, so yeah, the answer is yes. So as a home inspector, what if a house fails inspection? What would be a good industry for me to be in if a home fails inspection? This is where it's going to
contracting business.
You're right. It. Yeah, and so and why do you think your guy that you talked to, the one guy you mentioned a couple times, why do you think he's a contractor first and inspector second? You get it now? Right. So what is he always going to be on the lookout for?
Properties that he can pick up and flip, maybe, or that he can
fix up himself and then rent out or whatever.
If he doesn't have the money, he would have a network of investors that he would alert that this property just come on the market.
Right, and I can fix it. My company will throw the bid in. The agreement you make with me is I'll give you the property, or I'll tell you about the property and give you all the info. You snap it up for a low price and give me the bid as the contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so then he's making the home inspection money as just free money in order for him to then decide whether he's going to get the big money in taking it further into the marketplace for himself.
Right, and that's not everybody. Yeah.
Usually they're working for somebody who's in the retail market looking to buy a property rather than, if they're working for a bank and it's REO property, a bank-owned property, then definitely they can shop that out.
Right.
Because they have the inside track.
Right.
But if they're looking brought in by a realtor to do retail, they don't have an inside track on that.
They don't, but they have an inside track to the realtor, right? And all the information that they get on a daily basis. Remember, they're not making one stop, right? Like they make multiple stops and they see multiple properties all over their area, and they know what areas are growing. And if they've been doing it for 5 to 7 years, they know where the next hot spots are going to be, right? Or most likely going to be, or what land deals just got closed and zoned for development, right? Residential development, all that kind of shit. So they understand where their business is and where it's going to be continue to come from once the economy recovers, right? On the financial side. The thing, my point is that home inspectors, you're going to find a lot of part-timers. You're going to find a lot of people that, or not noobs, but people that just went full time into it. Um, more that than the deep roots. That's why I said it's a smaller base of people you're going to go after. It doesn't mean the people that are doing it part time or that just went full time or within the last few years are bad or anything. It's just they're not the best people right now because of where the market is and what's going to be happening. You're looking for the guys that have been around for a while. My other point is this: home inspectors typically find alternate means of income. It's not the only gig they do, right? It's not the only gig they do. Even the ones that are full time, they're going to be investing in properties they were able to pick up or find. Hell, even sometimes through lean markets, right? And I don't mean LEAN, I mean LEIN, right? Like liens. So yeah, lots to consider there. Lots to do market research on and understand more about the nature of the home inspector. Their habit. Here we have a home inspector in their natural habitat, right? You really need to study them and understand what motivates them, why they're doing what they're doing. Did they just stumble by accident into the industry because they were a realtor at one time, or because they were a contractor at one time, and what their real motivations are for driving home inspection calls. And what's cool about that is your guy, for example, and I'm not saying this is the best client or anything, but I'm just giving you an example here. Your guy that's a contractor who also does home inspection as a side gig. If it ever got like to a point where he had to do it full time, he probably could hire somebody to go and do the inspections while he fields the rest of the business and keeps his contractor business up and going. That's what I would do if I was him. And go on the occasional inspection call whenever he wants to, like he was doing to start with. But really where his big money comes from, and I'm just using, again, hypothetical, and this is an example, really where his big money comes from is exactly what we described, which is picking up a deal that he can refer out or that he can snap up a bid on, that whole thing. And if that's his primary goal, when you're driving phone calls, what's the biggest money you can make him? Is it a home inspection gig?
No, it's going to be a house flip deal.
Whatever it is that he's looking to do, exactly, the end goal. And will he get those all the time or every time? No. But when he does, you need to be there. You need to talk about that. And how do you know to talk about that if you don't know what his real motivations are, what his real end goals are? That's like, let's say we want to talk about retirement. So you and I, you and me, we go to a financial investment advisor, right? And we say, hey, we want to retire by the time we're 50 years old, and we work a 9 to 5, right? And financial advisor is going to say something like, and I'm just guessing here, but financial advisor is going to say something like, well, you need to set aside X dollars and you need to see X percent of growth every year, and we can do that tax deferred and all this cool stuff. Okay, cool. Show us on the financial calculator. Looks really sexy. We'll be multimillionaires by the time we're 50. That's great, right? Where it gets interesting is this, like with that. Oh man, lost my train of thought. Why did I do that? Lost my train of thought.
Well, we're looking at what is it that the financial advisor is going to...
Yeah. The goal, the end goal. So they say, the financial advisor says, well, how do what do you want to do for retirement? And we both say, well, shit, I don't know. Go down to Costa Rica, have a few laughs, have a few drinks, sit on the beach, go deep sea fishing, right? But then later on, that's what he builds our plan based on, right? And he shows us how much money it's going to cost us for the boat. Like, you got to itemize that kind of stuff out, right? Like to get a good idea of what it's going to cost us and what our budget would look like monthly that we can spend after taxes, what we're going to be able to do, what we're not. And then when we get home a year later, we forgot to tell the financial advisor, that occasionally, twice a year or something, we want to go make a trip to Thailand, or we want to travel to Australia, or we want to go to Singapore, or we want to go to London, or whatever, right? The point is, or when we got
Yeah.
family back home, we want to go see them twice a year. On top of that, we didn't bring that up. So guess what? That's not built into the calculations, right? You're planning for something. So am I going to make it to my goal? No, I'm not. Now, here's the thing. This guy that does home inspections and contractor work, right? Like, if you don't have, if what he's really after, here's my point in the hypothetical, if what he's really after is that contract work, that's the big payday for him, and home inspections is the silver while he's mining to get the gold, right? So in other words, it pays the bills, which a lot of silver mines, that's how they operated. They mined silver to get to the gold. Silver paid the bills till they got to the gold. If that's how he's doing this, and you're not communicating with that person about the gold that they have mined, do they see the gold or the value in what you're doing for them?
Well, if they are seeing it, they're keeping it to themselves. They're not seeing that I'm giving them extra stuff on the side, which they think, well, you know what, I'm getting even more out of this, and all I'm paying for is this for home inspection, but actually I'm getting a whole lot more in the back end.
Some people will, yeah. Some people will want to take advantage of you. Some people will not legitimately not see the value, and I would say more than some, it would be most. Most people will legitimately not see the value. You know why? Because it was not pointed out to them. How many times have you seen a child or have you been a child where you were taught the value of something, the value of money, the value of taking care of your things so that we have nice things? Like those are lessons that we all learn in life as we grow up. Well, some people learn. Not everybody learns those lessons. And some people learn them later in life, right? But my point is this. How many times have we seen that or gone through those experiences or seen other people go through those experiences where a kid is totally trashing his new iPhone or something because he wasn't taking care of it? And we're like, $600 down the drain. Like, we know the value of that. We know what that's worth. We know that how much time has gone into that or effort and all that kind of stuff. That kid could care less, right? Because he or she hasn't learned the value of that money yet, that phone yet. Same concept here, right? If you don't have those conversations with your client, they're going to take you for granted or take advantage of you. Either one, and that either one's bad. One's worse than the other, but most people end up in the category, because most people are inherently good, most people end up in the category of just not understanding the value as opposed to taking advantage, right? And because the ones that don't understand your value, they're not going to continue with it. It's like a oh well to them. They drop the iPhone in the river. Oh well, go ask mom and dad for another one, or they'll go and find another lead provider that's going to give them a low rate or a lower rate or what they think they can get or more calls or whatever's on their mind, right? Because they think that money grows on trees. That's what they think. So, and that's how they act because the value wasn't communicated. So my point is the conversations you have ongoing with your client, via email, via phone, more than anything phone, but phone, email, SMS, all that kind of stuff, sending them notifications of qualified calls, following up on them, handling their disputes, all that kind of stuff on the calls that aren't qualified, optimizing the campaigns, digging deeper on some of the market research from time to time on phone calls. Those are super valuable calls, not just for the information you gather and mine, but also from the relationship that's built based on trust that this is the same guy calling me up every week and I'm getting phone calls from him and they're good and I'm making money, and oh yeah, twice a month I'm pulling big money deals on contractor work, right? Now, in some verticals it's easier to communicate that value because the jobs are higher ticket already, like water damage, right, or roofing or something like that, where it's a few $1,000s up, and every job they get, they're going to see the value more than they would if a $500 ticket. Not that a $500 ticket's bad, don't get me wrong, but it's much more challenging for someone to see when their margins are maybe a couple $100s out of that, or even higher margins with home inspections, probably more like what, time and gas, so call it $400 out of 500 maybe. Still
Mm-hmm.
great margins, but it's a low ticket. They're paying $35-50 for that. That's 1/8. That's
Mm-hmm.
1/8 of the money, which is 12.5%,
Mm-hmm.
right? So 12.5%. I mean, if I'm doing the math as a business owner, I'm like, shit, that's half my margin, right? Or um,
Mm-hmm.
that's a 12.5% pay cut on all the business that I get from this guy. But if you know what my motivations are, and my motivations truly are to get twice a month or 3 times a month or once a week or whatever it is, those contractor gigs, right? The money I
Mm-hmm.
make from home inspection, my side gig, is nowhere near as important. Great that it's doing well, right? But man, am I ever making the money on the contractor gig, right? I'm gonna love you forever.
Yeah,
But
they could make money just on flipping the deal to somebody else.
correct.
Make five
But
$10,000 just flipping the deal.
now I am either really smart and have put two and two together without you and said, "Wow, I'm just going to see if I can get this down to 30 calls or $30 a call." Then let's see if I can act all upset and not happy with the value because he's telling me what he thinks I need, which is home inspection calls, and what I'm really making on the back end of this is $50,000 contract jobs, and he doesn't know shit about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those aren't in the calls;
Mm-hmm.
those are those are off to the side. So. Uh, if you don't have these conversations, they're either going to try to take advantage of you that way, or they're just going to be so absent-minded because they're business owners, they're small business owners. They have so many hats to wear throughout the day, every day, 7 days a week. And then if they have a family, right? Holy shit, right? It's just a whole other set of not problems and things to deal with. There are problems, but there's a whole other set of hats to wear. You got the dad hat, got the husband hat, right? The whole That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. Especially if you're working a small business. They don't have time to calculate the value of doing business with everybody they do business with. All right? The smart business owners
Uh-huh.
make the time, find the time, make the time. But most business owners, even ones that have been around 10, 15 years, don't take the time to calculate their numbers like that. They go off gut instinct. They go off what they feel, or they just don't. They plain just don't do business with companies that generate phone calls or leads, right? It's just not their experience,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't have good experience doing it. One of the two: lack of experience or not good experience. So, in order to break that, to break the ice on that, right? To break through on that, you're going to have to communicate the value ongoing, right? And find out what the real value is. Because I'll tell you right now, while there are some full-time home inspectors that make money exclusively from home inspections, most of them have a side gig or something else that they make money off of on the back end, right? You got to find out what those are in your market research. Okay.
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 Thanks for pointing this out to me. I didn't. I had not. It had not occurred to me at all, William.
Well, I mean, let's you know what let's in home inspector industry. Let's see. This will tell you a ton. Average salary home
What are you looking
inspector
at?
50 to I'm just looking on Google search. Home inspector industry average salary is 50 to 64,000 a year. That's off of jobmonkey.com. That's with benefits, by the way. So it's much less. It's like less than 50. Shit, man. The median American income, right? The median American income or salary is like, what is it, 36, 40,000 a year? That's like dangerously close to median income. It's not good.
47,000.
Yeah, that's not good. I'm not saying that's horrible, right? But it ain't. It's half of six figures, dude. Like I said, you know. Um,
Okay.
Startup costs. You can start up with as little as $500. Average startup cost maybe $5,000 to $8,000, and that's based off of a startup jungle, which makes sense. If you look at advertising, that's
They got
probably
to
going
go
to
to
be
school. They got to go to school, and then you got to pay licensing fees,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they need to set up a referral network.
Yeah.
Usually that's how I found one, is putting a house on the market, saying
Look at
to the
this.
realtor, who
If you work as an inspector for someone else's business, in other words, if you're employed as a home inspector for a company, you can expect to work 50 to 60 hours a week.
wow, that's busy.
Yeah. And this is titled A Typical 13-Hour Day in the Life of a Home Inspector. Holy shit, no wonder they all do it part-time. They do it for the money on the back end, brother. I'm telling you. And the back end's going to be different for everybody. Like for your contractor guy, we kind of know what the back end is. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? But that makes me wonder, what else is there, right? I would say probably realtor. I'd say realtor. But that's a guess. How much per hour? $28
Well,
an hour.
realtors, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest if they do, they're a realtor and they do home inspections?
Say that again.
Wouldn't that be a conflict of interest to be licensed as a realtor and a home inspector?
You can't do your own inspections, I wouldn't think. No. But let me see. Hold on. Can you be a realtor and home inspector? Like a life insurance agent can own life insurance. You know what I'm saying? But who they buy it from, they can't buy it from themselves. Does that make sense?
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Sense.
Okay.
I
can't answer the health questions on myself and fill out life insurance forms for myself. It's against the law, actually. But that's because it's a very strictly regulated business. A real estate broker can also be a home inspector. No prohibition against working in both industries. Some may consider it conflict, however, for a real estate broker to also perform the home inspection in the same transaction. So some may consider it. It's not even illegal. What a fucking racket that is. That sounds like it should be regulated. You know what I'm saying? Like you and I both came to the common sense conclusion that, yeah, you probably shouldn't be inspecting the home that you're selling, but it looks like it's just frowned upon. And this is pocketsense.com. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, it's considered some people it says consider it a conflict, but it does not say it's against the law or that it is a conflict. But it may vary from state to state, right? May vary from state to state. I'll tell you this, because of the licensing requirements on both in both fields, there may be something about the ethics of that. There may be, and if there is, well, then follow those rules, right? But or suffer the consequences. But yeah, that's what we did in life insurance. I mean, if I wanted life insurance, selling it, I couldn't write the applications myself, and I didn't. I had somebody else do it, right? So yeah, so they're making. I'm not saying all of them are making the money. There's some people that live off of that income, and that's their bread and butter. But most people, there's a back end. Guarantee you, there's a back end, and some of it's going to be contract, and some of it's going to be realty. Obviously, there's probably some other things, but the point is, I did 2 or 3 Google searches. I haven't talked to anybody in the industry, right? Like I tell you to talk to 20 people. I haven't talked to one person yet. I've done a couple of Google searches. I found out a ton about the industry. You should really start digging, because right now you've got access to people that have their ears open for opportunity like this that normally don't. Normally they don't, and it's because of the world we live in right now. But who knows for how much longer, right? Who knows for how much longer? What happens when we start having like regularly scheduled football and, you know, full packed stadiums again and shit like that? What happens if life goes back to a semi-normal? Maybe we're all still wearing masks, but we're all okay with standing 3 feet apart or something. I don't know. The point is, what happens? All those people that have their ear open right now aren't, in 3 months from that point, aren't going to have their ear open again. Why? Because business has picked back up. Because the housing market, the only reason it has a dip is because of the economy, and the only reason the economy had a dip was because of the because of COVID. Here's the thing: had COVID not happened, the growth of the real estate market would continue and will continue. The only reason we had major problems in '07, '08, as like we did, was because of the abuse of the systems and lack of laws in place, right? The abuse of the brokers and the bankers, actually more than the brokers, but brokers didn't help. A lot of fraudulent stuff going on with the brokers too. But my point is that correction happened in the market because of the abuse. This is actually a legit just recession in the market, right? Correction in the market. And so on an economic level, it will recover and should do so as soon as the rest of the economy recovers. And I already told you about the projections I read, so go read up on that and use that. What that tells you, by the way, just as a heads up, I mean, this would be a good time for you to map out home inspections, expansion into a second vertical, let's call it 9 months from now. So like, actually, yeah, spring next year. Man, if you worked your ass off right now into spring of next year, expanded into moving as a second vertical, you would hit the moving season at a time of growth, like massive growth, because
Both of them.
for both of them, right? Exactly. So like, shit, man, get on it. Okay, and quit stressing over $300 you have in a friggin' ad coupon, brother. Get going, man. And come back to me. Show me the campaigns you got. Come back to me. Show me the campaigns you got, and we'll optimize them together. Come back.
It's a date for 2 weeks.
All right, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hey, right.
Hey, man, I want you to know I appreciate you. You've been around a long time. You've been following me a long time. I appreciate that, and I really want to see you succeed in this business. If you can't tell, I spent a lot of time with you.
Unfortunately, I spent a lot of time being sidetracked.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I should have just stuck with it, but I've come back to it, realized nothing else gives me the passion. Nothing else do I really want to do, and I'm just going to focus on this because I've done lead generation in the past.
Right. I remember.
I used to have a company called Lead Zumba, and I used to have 35 people working with me, and we used to sell live data, and we used to sell live leads, live calls, and data. I would broker the data, and we would do the lead campaigns. But I just know that this is something that's well within my capability. And the strange thing is that almost every person I speak with, almost, is open to doing business with me. And I have not pulled the trigger. I just need to do this.
Yes, please do.
I think they're open to it even more now. It's just people are very receptive now.
Here's what I'll say to you, man, and I'll leave you with this, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Get yourself into trouble, and by trouble I mean get a campaign up and going, get some clients in, talk to them or not, get your market research done before all that, and come back to me with a campaign that we can optimize. Get yourself into some trouble, and I'm there for you, dude. I'm here. Like we'll handle the business, whatever we got to do. But go do it. Go do your part, and I'll be here. Okay.
I'll see you on the 28th.
Yes, and do some thinking and talking to your market research about the mindset of what they're currently going through, what their needs and wants are, what their side gigs are, not their side gigs, what their main gigs are, and what they're treating home inspection as a side gig for, like their main motivations, and also how they feel, how they would feel in the scenario of you giving them free calls and then yanking the rug out. Ask them about that without saying yanking the rug out. Ask them about that. Pitch it the way you want to pitch it and see how they would feel about it. Tell them you're not trying to sell them something. You just want to know how they would feel about it if you were to set them up like that. See how they feel about it. You're going to have some people that are open to it, But listen to how they say that they're open to it. They don't say, hell yeah, I'll do business with you, right? They're not open to doing business with you. They're going to say something like, well, if the calls are good. But what is the calls being good based on? Their opinion. What's their opinion based on? The value of the call. What's the value of the call based on? Whether or not you communicated that value or not. Not whether or not the value is actually there. Remember, we just had that conversation. So what are they really telling you? Yeah, I'd pay you to keep getting my fix. Is that the best possible scenario for starting a business relationship? Hell no. Hell no. It's not a good idea. Go and find out for yourself, though. I mean that. Find out for yourself, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll get you'll have a lot more. Not that you don't, but you'll have a lot more than you currently do. Empathy, right, for these people. Not sympathy, but empathy. You're going to feel what they feel, and when you feel what they feel, you're going to sound like them. You're going to understand them. They're never going to have heard that before, or very rarely, and you're going to be able to deliver because of what you're doing with the Flyant campaign, right? I mean, dude, you're a lock. You're a lock. You're going to get business. So go do that. We'll talk about your next steps once you got some qualified calls coming in on your campaign. I'll help you do that as well, but go get the campaign set up so we can do some optimization on it, okay? And do your market research so we can have deeper conversations.
All right, will do. Thanks for spending the time with me. I really didn't think it was going to go this long.
Hey,
this is a talk. I really do appreciate you going around and around and exploring many different things that I was not thinking of. It's really rather good.
Well, that's what I'm here for. That's my job. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, go ahead. You said you're a guy who gets straight to the point?
Well, thanks once again. Yeah, I tend to be a guy who gets straight to the point. I don't beat around the bush. I don't do many pleasantries. You know, there is this guy, what's his name? Giorgio Armani. He ran a $500 million company, and every meeting, no meeting lasted longer than 60 minutes. Thinking, well, if he can get to the point and get everything done to run a $500 million company in 60 minutes per meeting, that's what I need to do.
Here's the thing.
Sort of
when if you're talking about how long this call was, here's the thing. Here's the difference. Are you my employee?
No.
Hell no, right? I'm teaching you to be the man, right? In terms of this business model, right? So me teaching you how to be that guy, that's going to take longer than 60 minutes. And if I've got multiple questions and things to talk about, concepts, keep in mind, you haven't fully, prior to this conversation, you did not fully establish and concrete, maybe not even until your market research is done, the idea that you are going after that vertical home inspection, right? Like, once you do that market research, you're going to feel a lot more solid about it. Then we can start having conversations that are shorter, to the point. Hey, here's your optimization. That's not going to take 60 minutes unless you've got a ton of questions or you're not up to speed on what's being done. Here's the point. As a CEO or as a boss, my meetings with staff never lasted longer than 30 minutes. If they lasted longer than that, they were clearly labeled as like brainstorming sessions, or I've got an idea, let's explore it and run it out to its end. And sometimes those calls would be 2-3 hours. But not with all my staff and not with every person. It's usually one-on-one or one-on-two, so like 3 people on the call. And those are fun calls, but they're not every day. And staff calls were 15 to 30 minutes, man, and not every day either. At a certain point, it started out every day, but then I didn't have to because the systems and processes run the business. But teaching you how to be the guy that sets all of that stuff up and has the mindset to dig deep in the business and learn how to scale it and all that. There's a lot that goes into this business in terms of running it as the man or the woman for some people, right? If you're going to run this business, there's a lot to consider. It gets a hell of a lot easier very quickly as soon as you start doing, because like I said, one question turns into 3, turns into 12, and you're off to the races, as opposed to just getting the data. Now you know the answers, right? It's the best way forward. So you're going to go and do your market research, come back with come back with the prime motivators, come back with a campaign up and running for a few clients, one campaign to 3 clients, do a round robin on it, and tell me all about them and your conversations with them. You're probably going to tell me 1 or 2 of those people, maybe not all 3, if not all 3, that have told you they would love your phone calls if they're qualified, if they're going to be qualified, without you even having to pitch. So don't pitch them, and they'll come to you. I'm telling you, it's the craziest thing you'll ever see. More times than not, they'll come to you if you do that. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And then you'll have your data, you have your confidence, we'll have the campaign, and while it may not have driven a ton of qualified calls, you probably have 1 or 2, maybe more. And what we'll do is we'll optimize so that we can turn that into double or triple, right? So it drives 4 to 6 qualified calls, and we'll keep optimizing the campaign. From there, 2 weeks from now, we'll do optimization, but then we're going to spend some time and talk about your prep for acquisition. I'm going to help you fine tune on that, give you next steps, what to prepare for, and then 2 weeks from then, we're going to talk about the clients you have, and then we're going to talk about systems and processes and onboarding, right? And each one of those is not a 60-minute conversation. I wish, dude. I wish. If I'll tell you this, if you were my employee and I was just telling you what to do, go do this, go do that, go do that, we'd be on the phone 15, 30 minutes. I'd say, look, go do your market research. Here's the short answer to what you need. Go do your market research. You're looking at the market all wrong. This is what I see. Go do it, come back to me. And then I'd wait for you to go do that and come back to me if you were my employee. But you're not my employee. I'm trying to teach you to be the man. So that's why I spend a little, I give a damn. I care about you succeeding in this business. I want to show you that. I want to show you that I'm here to put the time into you if you're here to put the time into your business. And how to do so as the boss man, right, or the boss woman for you ladies out there. So do your thing. Go do that. Come back to me. And let's keep making it happen. Just be prepared. These calls may not go the 60 minutes, you know. Staff-wise, though, I'm 100% with you on that. It should not be longer 15, 30 minutes. I mean, 60 minutes, you know, I don't know. I guess it's different for every business model. For this business model, hell, even teaching this business model, my staff meetings are not longer than 30 minutes. There's no need. Not even for, that includes training, daily training. There's no need for anything longer than that. There's no need. But for you,
when I ran a company, there were still meetings. We would have a meeting at the end of the day where they would come back and give me the challenges for the day.
Yep.
And what they encountered, and then I would ask them for their suggestions on a solution as to what they thought they needed
yep.
to implement in order to overcome that. And then we would evaluate whether that was a good thing or not. We would test it out, and we would do that. And we would have a Monday meeting for a very short time. We would have a Friday meeting. We had a meeting every day, but at the end of the day, in terms of, well, at the beginning it was like 10, 15 minutes is what the objectives were. And at the end of the day, a 30-minute meeting as to what we encountered and what we're going to plan for the next day. And that was pretty much it.
Now here's what's crazy.
Always I would ask my staff as to what they encountered and what their suggestions were
right.
to overcome and solve problems, rather than me telling.
Always. Yeah, you have to. I don't ask for one solution. I ask for 3 from each person. And I don't always get 3, but my point is I push them to think. The other thing is this. Let's pretend for a second you didn't know how you built all that, and you were completely in the dark, but you want to do a lead generation business, right? You've got to be taught how to generate leads to start with, how to hire and train those people, how to run those kind of sales meetings and how to run those kind of trainings, how to get the feedback and teach them to teach themselves. There's so many. Can you cover that in 60 minutes? Hell no. Can you teach an employee what he needs to do in 30 minutes? Absolutely you can. Damn straight you can. If it takes longer than that, yeah, there's a problem. But for you and me, mentorship, higher level conversations on the entire business model and the nuances that break, which by the way, the vertical that you're in is not the easiest to talk about. How long did I have to spend on moving? Not long. Not
Well,
long.
fairly straightforward.
Fairly straightforward.
Uh,
I'm not saying your vertical is difficult, but it's not as easy as. There's a difference, right? It's not difficult, but it's not as easy as some of the others. For example, moving, which I picked to bring up because it's related to your category, right, which is housing. Anyway, not trying to convince you to change over, just want you to be fully aware. And in order to make you fully aware, I had to go do a couple Google searches myself and show you, okay, here's what you're facing, right? Here's what you're up against. And not only that, there's a 60% drop, and holy shit, like you're going to have to go after the people who have their ears open right now that are going to survive the storm so that you can help the other people that come in later, right? Yeah, we also uncovered the motivators, right? It's obvious that most home inspectors, not most, I'd say a fair amount of home inspectors, if not the majority, use it as a side gig to make money on the back end for something else, either realty or investment in houses or contract work, you name it, right? So find out what those are, find out what those motivators are, and so you can start speaking the language of your clients and know what the needs are, know what they're feeling. We talked about sales strategy. We talked about the purpose of the Flyant, which I feel like those concepts are not easy to necessarily teach, right? Unless somebody does it blindly and says, well, this is going to get me the results I want. And I taught you to not focus on the sales of it. The sales come later. That guy's, if he likes your phone calls, he knows where to find you. Trust me on that one, right? He'll be knocking down your door, okay? So don't worry about that one guy or those three guys. Worry about the 20 after, right? Those are the clients you start with. Those are the clients you pull in, and the other guys will come along or they won't, and it doesn't matter because you got 20 clients, right? Like that's kind of. Otherwise, you look at it as, if you don't have those 20 clients, it's going to be like, oh man, but I gave those three people 20 leads each. Why are they not? It's too much pressure. It's too desperate. It's too everything. Go after the clients, right? The way I taught you, and you'll be fine. It takes longer than 60 minutes to say all that shit. Man, my life would be great if it was 60 minutes to help everybody with everything in this business model. But, that's why I spend the time on these calls and why we covered so much. Happy to help, of course. Go. You've got your next action steps, and go after it, and I'll be here for you, man. It should be a lot smoother the next call because you're going to have a lot of stuff done to where we can...
Yeah, because we'll have the ability to talk some numbers and give you some feedback as to what I've encountered.
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna help us really calculate.
This was just from last night. I thought about this niche, and I did a quick Google search, and I did a quick look, and I just saw that I just don't. My feeling is that they don't have a lot of people in terms of lead generation companies giving them leads or phone calls, and I see that Home Advisor sees that, yes, this is a market. We have home inspectors. We deliver to them.
Yep.
So it's been validated by Home Advisor, and I figured, people, with the displacement of people that's going to be happening, there's going to be some need for it. I didn't see that there's going to be a drop in need, but I did see bankruptcies, divorces, and moving are going to be much higher.
A drop.
I have domains in all of these.
I dropped my pen on the ground, dude. What's coming is a freaking cliff. 60% is a cliff. I'm telling you. Big roots. Look for the big trees. The ones that have been in business 30 years and are going to be in business 30 more. That kind of, maybe not that quite that strong, but 7-8 years in business on up. Look for those guys and gals out there in the home inspections market. Look for those people and understand that if they're using home inspections as a primary or as a side gig, their primary gig is going to be affected by that 60% drop as well. Okay? So understand a lot of home inspectors are going to go out of business. if they haven't already. And it's I'm not saying it's a bad vertical for you to be in. I'm saying uh, shift your targeting, but you're going to have to really dig in on your market research to do that, which I know you can do. I know you're more than capable to do that. And when you do that, come back to me with a client, a few clients really, with a campaign that we can optimize, and you're going to be off to the races, man, very, very quickly, and right on time too, because you're gonna nail that market down, and then nail the moving season with it on the growth, and then guess what happens by the end of 2021 after you've nailed that one down for 6 to 9 months? The third vertical, guess what it's going to be? Take a wild guess. Home inspectors, moving, and then what? You're going to laugh when you hear it.
Well,
Realtors.
I think there's going to be a big
Realtors. Yes. I'm going to teach you how to drive phone calls to realtors, and not with call-only ads. Don't worry. By then, you're going to have a lot of ad platforms to choose from and a lot of ad types as well. So yeah, realtors, and you're going to be. Here's the thing: you're going to have 2 verticals with dozens of clients each, making you God knows how much money in profit per month, a staff on hand. You're going to have the financial resources, because realtor leads are not going to be cheap. They're going to be super valuable and super worth it, and you're going to get paid for it. But the real estate market will have recovered most likely by the end of 2021, based on the data that I have seen. Could be wrong, but recessions tend to last 2 to 3 years. And this one seems a little bit light because we're the ones that voluntarily turned off the lights, right? So we turned the lights back on, kind of. But they're projecting 2021 into 2021 real estate markets will be back to where they are currently. And right now they were in a slight state of growth before this quarter. Anyway, the point is, you'll be.
Are you familiar with the new ads? Lead ads that Google have introduced for YouTube ads.
Yeah, I've seen them.
You run an ad, and underneath it, yeah, I've seen a few of them. I've seen only 2 or 3.
Yep.
Maybe that's good for display in terms of, because YouTube videos do rank, and if you attach a lead form to the bottom of it, that might be good for realtors too. So people looking for properties and then generating leads that way.
You're going to find a lot of business off of Facebook. Actually, I'd say if anything, you're going to find more business off of Facebook. Not that Google can't target people that are wanting to buy and sell houses, but Facebook's a very visual social media property. It's where we go to look at cool shit. It's not the only site we do that. I'm just saying. It is definitely a visually based platform, right? Our entertainment there, and so the realtors that post consistently there and build up a following actually do very well. I won't say that they're the top 1%, but they're better than the majority of the realtors that are not doing that in their social media, and that's because there's a visual medium there. There's something that people can look at, or a visual tour that they can click on a link and go to do a 360 virtual tour of the house or whatever, or see multiple pictures inside of the same post from the realtor. There's so much that can be done inside of posting like that, and not just the post, but the the advertising that you can do inside of Facebook as well. I've got a few buddies in real estate here in Vegas, and I see posts from a couple of them, one person in particular, pretty frequently, and they do very well. I know because I know, and they're not running ads. And I'm not saying that you're not going to find realtors that would not love you to death for running ads for them, but there's certain things that we can do to drive phone calls for those ads, because that's what the realtor's really looking for. Right? The realtor's really looking for the phone calls. They just understand that the visual properties of their posts and or ads is what's going to drive the phone calls. So I'm going to show you how to do that kind of stuff. Absolutely. I'm not saying YouTube ads are not valuable, and they are very valuable. I'm not saying that the lead function of the YouTube ads are not valuable. I'll show you how to leverage all of that, including the organic rank, and how the ads, the YouTube ads, actually help the YouTube organic rank. But for right now, you're not in the best position to drive the, let's say, the most efficiently and the most optimum amount of leads for realty to expand into that market. However, you have the perfect opportunity to, and I say perfect loosely here, you have a very solid opportunity to expand from vertical to vertical to vertical, completely dominating the entire category or industry that is housing, by the way, and expand into multiple verticals from that point, because at that point you should have, 3 verticals in, you should have systemized how to transition and expand into a new vertical. Okay, you should have that process and set of systems down. I teach you how to do that. You should be able to do that. So when you're able to do that, and you expand into housing, or excuse me, expand into realty, as realty goes back to normal or normal amount of growth that we've been having, back to the levels that we were having, basically, you're going to be able to produce a lot more business, because that's something that's not only nationwide, but most of the realtors out there struggle. You need to really look at, well, not right this second, but it's something you need to do in your market research. Find out how many successful realtors there are. You'll find out that there's a very much a cream of the crop scenario where it's like the top 1%. Much like life insurance. There's a shitload of people that try it, and then there's like 10 that are good at it. And by good, I mean like, can make a living with it. And then beyond the people that can make a living with it, there's people that make 6 and 7 figures on up. That's very much the real estate industry. It's like that. So there are plenty of people that, if they could just earn enough, to get to this position, XYZ position, they'd be able to reinvest in themselves, into better sales training, into mindset, into looking the part, all the things that come with being a egocentric realtor. Okay, that is part of the game, right? But if they can't afford it, they catch 22. How the hell are you ever going to do it? You got to fake it till you make it. That's not necessarily the best plan. You get the point. You're able to swoop in and say, hey, here's a bunch of people that want to buy, and here's a bunch of people that want to sell, and I'm going to give you both with 2 different sets, or 2 different campaigns, which to you means 2 different sets of ads running, right? And you're going to produce buyers and sellers, and they're going to end up on the phone with the realtor, and guess what? They're going to have a shitload of buyers and a shitload of sellers, and they got to sort them and mix and match and go to town, right? That's the deal. Usually selling's not the problem. It's the buyers they got to find. Every market's different. Right now, it's going to be a buyer's market. There's going to be so much shit available for sale over the next year that people that are buying houses right now are crazy. I would, man, if I were in the house buying market right now, this is what I would do. Go rent an apartment for 6 months. Go get a 6-month lease somewhere and wait. That's what I would do. Because after the 6 month, your apartment complex or whatever, or property management, would probably do a month to month with you for a little bit of an increase in your price. But I would wait. See what happens over the next 6 months and thank me later. Send me a check thanking me later on that one, because that'll save you thousands of dollars, right? Like maybe more. Plus mortgage rates, right? I want to see what those do. They're gonna hand out so much candy. My goodness, they're gonna be giving away buckets of candy, not just on the mortgage rates, but also on the housing market values and the prices. Wait 6 months. It's worth it. So if you're looking to buy a house right now, don't. Now's not the time. Now's the time to kind of.
No, I'm looking to get out of the country. I want to go to Southeast Asia or somewhere, or Costa Rica, or really Panama, because it's still Central Standard Time, and I can get more for less, and it'll be a lot cheaper for me to live. Get rid of the U.S. taxes, and still have access to the U.S. market.
Are you
That's really what
are
I'm
you a
looking
U.S. citizen?
No, which is good. I'm a
Okay,
U.S.
good.
resident,
U.S. resident. Okay.
so I would give up the U.S. I would give up the U.S. residency, and I'd only come into the United States for a few of your 3-day seminars, 3-day meetups or something once in a while.
Well, it's a good thing I'm in Vegas. It'd be easy for you to fly. I mean,
Yeah, especially
Panama.
if you're in Vegas.
Yeah, Panama City to Miami, Miami to Vegas, or you could do direct to Vegas. I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably a decent flight. But yeah, I mean, it's really not that
Yeah,
difficult.
that's what I'm looking to do. That's something that Chris Winters did when he set up his Hong Kong company to get rid of the U.S. taxes, and then he moved out. Well, I'd probably do the same.
Well, you can't
I've lived
say.
here a long
Yeah,
time,
as a U.S.
and I've
citizen, yeah. Here's the thing, though. As a U.S. citizen, you can't get rid of taxes, right? That's not how it's done, and that's
but
not
I'm, yeah, but I'm a resident. But I'm a
right.
resident, so
Right.
I can get rid of it.
Yeah, you can.
So
Everybody else
I would
that's a
just give
U.S.
up
citizen
residency.
cannot. Yeah, U.S. citizens are taxed worldwide. That is a
Yeah.
fact. He's structured things so that he's run it through the company, and because he lives abroad and does not come back to the country, but so many days a year, he's able to get a deduction, right? And because he's married, it's like I don't know, 140 or something now a year, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what he pays himself. That doesn't count what he's able to write off as an expense. So it's totally different for Americans. Totally different for Americans. We're taxed
Yeah.
worldwide on our actual income. So um, even if we were to renounce citizenship,
My goal my goal is to really travel 3 years. I want to see Europe. I want to see Asia. I want to see the world. And
cool,
then I'll settle down somewhere.
cool.
But
Well,
I
you
still
got to
want to have
have.
U.S. business. I still want the U.S. market.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that, and you don't have to be here to have that. You don't have to be here to have that. It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't. It's not a requirement either. Um, I would say before you start
Mm-hmm.
traveling, it's good to have a solid base from which to leap from if you're going to make a jump, right? So, and in your case, if you're going to travel the world and make a jump after jump after jump, the only stable and steady thing in your life, right, should be your business. Everything else should be up for
Yeah.
grabs. But you got to make sure that thing is rock solid to a certain point before you take off. But yeah, let me know when
Yeah.
you're thinking about Panama.
Then I'll.
I actually lived down in Panama for a while, and there's a southern part of Costa Rica as well. Up there in the mountains, Boquete is actually very nice. It's very temperate, very cool. Um, and there's a huge expat community that lives in that town, Boquete, which is about an hour north of David, which is we call it David, but they call it
Uh-huh.
David. And David is like what, maybe a couple hours from Panama City, outside of Panama City. Short flight will get you to David,
Okay.
like maybe an hour flight will get you to. Well, no, less than that. It's like a 45-minute flight. The plane, I kid you not, the plane goes up, the plane comes down. There really was, I don't even know if there was a cruising altitude. I shit you not, it was up and it was down. Just like that. Big jet took us there. And you can live pretty well. Your dollar will stretch a little bit further there, but there's a lot of cultural differences that, because it's a Central American country, can throw you for a loop if you're not used to it. If you've never been to a Central American or South American country, for example, most people in the U.S. Or that have lived in the U.S. are not used to the idea of unless they live or grew up either or in the projects, they're not used to bars in their windows and doors, right? Where down there it's actually like
Mm-hmm.
a prerequisite, like you have to have it, and more times than not you're not going to need it because you have it. Like it's not going to come to use or be used, but if you don't have it, you bet your ass your house is going to get broken into when you're gone, right? They're scoping out the American who's naive, right? in their mind. And so that definitely plays a part in the cultural differences. But there's also many, many other things that play a part, like buying land and buying a house there. Forget it, right? Forget it. They have squatters' rights, all kinds of crazy shit. Like somebody could literally just after you buy a property, just come and squat on your land or your house. After you take a vacation for a week or something, you come back and there's somebody living in your house, and you can't get rid of them legally. They have more rights on that than you do. Craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. And that's not the only country. There's plenty of countries throughout South America that do that. Argentina's known for that. Buy up a bunch of land, and then guess what? Got a bunch of people living on your land, and you can't get rid of them. Seriously, you cannot legally get rid of them. There's and I believe to a certain extent you're liable for what happens to them. Like just nightmare situations. Like what?
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot to consider. So hit me up on that. We'll have a 60-minute conversation on that one. But no, seriously, it actually is a lot of fun to travel. If I were you, I would recommend to see the world and do it right. It's very easy for you to get bogged down into what's comfortable in the day to day. Set a travel schedule of 3 to 6 months. Do everything you can do in 3 to 6 months, and trust that after seeing the rest of the world or the next place and the next place and so on, that if you loved it so much, you'll come right back and home base there if that's what you want to do, which eventually you will find a couple places that you want a year that you want to home base in, and maybe that's one of them. I don't know. Like I said, Panama City is friggin' hot. It's hot, like physically hot. David, not much better, right? Boquete is in the mountains. It's like 70 degrees up there. While it's not like sweltering hot, it's nice. It's nice and cool. It's at altitude, right? You're an hour away from the Costa Rican border, right? You can do a border hop on a bus. It's cheap. It's there's good restaurants there. There was a great pizza place there. Apartments and houses for rent. They even have their own like animal rescue shelter. They got expat meetups, all kinds of cool shit. Absolutely, yeah, you'll have a blast. But yeah, totally.
So that's what I'm looking to do, is to broaden my horizons and get out of the United States, get out of New York City, which I feel like I've been trapped here for a long time, and see the world.
Yeah, I mean,
I think lead generation and pay-per-call can allow me to do it because the ads will run. I just have to monitor them. I'll have somebody who can be a sort of project manager. I might even hire somebody down in Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic that speaks Spanish, and then I can go into the South American market as well. Who knows? Who knows what happens?
There's a lot of stuff that can happen. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, my man. Well, hey, I don't want to keep you any longer than I already have. It's been a great conversation. Go do what you got to do. You got your tasks, and let's hit it hard when you come back in 2 weeks. And I think I got Doug on the line too.
Okay.
I don't want to ignore Doug. Hey, Julian, talk to you in 2 weeks.
Talk to you in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Doug. Hello,
hey,
Doug.
William, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
All right. I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. I was trying to watch from the bleachers on Facebook, but it kept freezing up, and so I figured I'd hop on in here quietly and try to gain some knowledge.
Sure. Oh, okay. So you don't have anything? You don't need help with anything necessarily, or?
Well, I have a few questions.
Shoot.
Basically, today I'm starting over. I've got I don't know. I think I was talking to you last time. I had some things side roads I had to go down. So today is my first day back, and it just happened to coincide with your teleconference here. And
cool.
So I am back at square one. I started out this morning going over those 2 pay-per-call agency PDFs that you have.
Yes.
I figured that was a good place to restart.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah, I started on the first one, and I'm basically creating, what do you call those little charts? Anyhow, I'm charting it all out and getting it all organized, and um, going from that point, then I'll flow into the what is it, the 4 or 5 day challenge, whatever it is that you did.
The COVID Client Challenge, yes.
COVID client challenge. That's. I mean, you tell me if you have any suggestions. But I'm basically back at square one, considering the vertical that I want to select.
The COVID
And
Client Challenge, I'll tell you this right out, is designed. It's actually the starter, the primer to Ring Ads Prime. Not even trying to play a pun on words there. It really is the primer to Ring Ads Prime. So what I would do is, if I were you, it walks you through my entire. I walk you through my entire thought process on including vertical selection, on every vertical that I list as a vertical to jump into right now, post COVID, and I did that in April, but it still very much applies. Someone asked me about that on my last call. It very much applies today. Like it's very relevant. And I not only walk you through that process, but I walk you through the market research that I do. I walk you through the setup of the business. You can, it's an over the shoulder. You can follow along on one screen while you watch on another. I would say, if anything, spend your time there. Because if you do while you watch, and maybe you don't get it the first time around, but you get it the second time around, you're going to be a hell of a lot further along than where you're currently at, and you're going to start seeing results from what you're producing. Julian's been around for a while, so he knows my processes very well and knows what I teach very well. So he's kind of ahead of the curve on that, but that doesn't mean that because you're behind the curve or something. What it means is you've got some work to do, but I'll tell you this, it will pay off. Like you just got to put in some initial setup, and once the initial setup is in, it's up to you how far you want to take this, right? Like how big you want to build it, what you want to achieve with it. So I would say start with the COVID Client Challenge. It's going to be much better time spent. I've gotten, I'm not bragging here, I just want to tell you, I've gotten a lot of compliments from people saying, oh shit, like this is the best thing I've ever gone through. I'm able, and it's not because I'm the best teacher, it's because you're able just to see and do what I do, and I explain it along the way as to why I'm doing it that way in a lot of cases too. So you not only get the doing and can mirror it right yourself, you can also understand more about why I'm doing what I'm doing. So for the short term, long term, all that kind of stuff.
Right, okay. Definitely going to be absorbing that. I wanted to, I figured I'd just give it a shot and ask you, do you think, since the time that we're facing right now, do you see any vertical? I mean, since I'm open at this point, I had been considering HVAC, and my concern was we're starting to move in. I'm in Texas, not that that really matters, I guess, but we're starting to move into fall now and everything.
Yep.
Do you think that would be still a good vertical, or do you think there would be, since I'm open, other verticals that I might want to look at with everything, with our current situation? Something, I mean, really, I understand, like you were talking earlier about with the real estate market with Julian, that
Yep.
It's going to be evolving. I think you said it's going to turn into a buyer's market here, and people are going to be defaulting, I guess. I didn't catch the whole story on that, but
Yeah, sales are dropping 60%
right.
over the next quarter, and that's the next 3 months, and they're not expected to recover to where we're at now until the end of 2021, and that's a projection.
So you say sales are going to be dropping now,
60%.
does that mean that people are not going to
Be
so
buying.
It's not going to be people are not going to be buying?
Correct. And what happens when people stop buying?
Yeah, well, prices are going to drop
Like
crazy.
like a freaking rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the nice way of saying it. You know what I mean?
Now, are you saying that because people are just sitting tight, or
Well, both. They're sitting tight. When prices drop, you got people that are in the market that go, oh shit, maybe I should wait a minute, maybe I should wait a beat, see how far this is going to drop,
right,
so I can catch the bottom. Some people still don't
right.
realize that real estate. All I've seen in the news over the last couple months is how great real estate's doing, and it's like it just ain't caught up yet. What is wrong with you people? That
I
shit's
know
going
I've
that
been,
shit's going down so hard, and when it does,
I've
it's
been
gonna
thinking the
hurt.
same thing.
Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
hurt. It's gonna hurt, and I'm not laughing because it's gonna hurt. I'm not laughing at people. I'm just saying, man, it never fails to amaze me like the naivete or like how naive people can be, or how oblivious people can be to market conditions. Um, I mean, yeah, there are some markets that have succeeded. Like, okay, great. Amazon added 100,000 jobs, and they're still looking for 30,000 of them, by the way, to fill those positions. Uh, that's great. So there's been explosions in growth for e-com and this and that, and that's great. And there's growth in other industries as well, right? Even in the housing industry, like moving, right? There's going to be growth there. What about realty? No, not so much. I mean, it's been steady. I'll give it that. All things considered, but you also have to consider that this is the middle of this is the prime time moving season. Now that's over. That's over Labor Day, right? You normally sell most of your houses spring and summer, and some in the fall. Wintertime, forget it. Bad wintertime, right? Where people don't know what Christmas is going to look like, and there's a lot of people that don't know what Christmas is going to look like. Okay, they just don't know. Everything's going to be hurting. You want proof of that? Take a look at what Xbox and PlayStation sales are going to be. They're going to be, don't get me wrong, they're going to put up some numbers. They're going to put some numbers on the board because people will always buy doodads and electronics even if they're about to not be, living in a house or apartment, but because they can take it with them. But the numbers are not going to be what they should be. They're not going to be that. I can guarantee you. Not right now. Now later next year, yeah, the numbers will kind of pick back up for them on that. There's a lot of things to consider. As far as the vertical though, man, I would say go and watch the COVID Client Challenge. I cover each vertical in depth based on the times. I make recommendations on some good ones and why. I spend an hour and a half specifically on the verticals and the selection of it and why. Not just the why, but the why of each vertical. And I actually mentally go through the process of why would I not want that vertical right now? Well, not that it's a bad vertical, but right now in COVID world, we got this, and this going on, and that's what's causing that. So let's put that off to the side. Let's look at the next one. I go through it just like that. And I lay out what verticals are going to be good, what verticals are going to be okay, and what verticals are going to be like, okay, once shit starts recovering. And back then, that was when things were totally shut down. So some of those have gotten a little better, but not much, right? We're back to that, like I said, the casinos here are half capacity. So think along those lines, and you're not going to be misguided. That much I can tell you. You're going to have plenty of guidance on the vertical selection. And I'll tell you this, spending more time than I spent on vertical selection. Keep in mind, I not only selected a vertical in an hour and a half, I ran through my entire thought process on 26 or 27 verticals, okay, in an hour and a half. And picked one, okay? If you spend long, and I taught you how to do that. If you spend longer than I teach you how to do that, you're spending too long. Okay? You're overthinking it.
I think you did appliance repair, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I did. I'm telling you, if you take longer than an hour and a half to pick a vertical, you're taking too long. You're overthinking it. You're taking away time that could have been spent on setting up the campaign, getting your client site set up, all that other stuff, and then prospecting, right? Actually going out and acquiring the clients. So yeah, don't take forever on that. You don't need to. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I was just considering the change of seasons, and I knew that you had mentioned on one of the previous calls that we're coming into actually a good part of the year right before Christmas. Was what you were alluding to, and I wasn't sure if you were meaning that that goes for all the verticals that you had mentioned, or only specific ones.
Say that question again. Sorry, I had to check the comments for the feed.
No, that's fine.
Go ahead.
On one of the previous calls, you had mentioned that we're coming into a time of year where you were saying that things are going to heat up around, I guess, November.
For client acquisition. For acquisition, yes.
For client acquisition. Okay.
Yeah, there's some businesses that are going to, even in the wintertime, we're entering that funky transition for HVAC where you're going to have some people switching from heat to AC and back again. In the desert here in Vegas, which we're not the only desert in the country, right? We have 30-degree fluctuations in temperature, which is crazy. 30 degrees difference. I mean, this is one of the few places really on Earth that you can go and actually get hypothermia in 80-degree weather, and I'm not joking. If you ever see gosh, there's so many examples of this on TV and cartoons, like being out in the desert and it gets cold at night. It's just your body. It's still 80 degrees out, but because it dropped from 110 to 80, your body cannot adapt quickly enough to overcome hypothermia, and you die. That's the desert. Welcome to the desert. So that's now. Here's where it gets crazy. There's two times of the year where shit gets really funky because we don't really have spring and fall. We do. They're about a month and a half long, sometimes 2 months if we're lucky. That's like the sweet spot, right? Then it's like hot air, dry or hot, and then it goes to like, the funky transition, and then it goes immediately to cold. And by cold, I mean, keep in mind, our high temperatures here, 113. I think we had 113, 114, and that's pretty hot. It's not maybe the hottest in the world, but it's hot. And then we go from that to the wintertime, we drop down to we've dropped down into the 30s before, no problem. And certain parts of the valley up on the bowl, because the valley is basically a bowl, the strip's in the middle of the bowl. So if you're at altitude on some of these hills, these mountains in the valley, it can actually snow. That's no joke. And it gets colder, like into the teens. So you're talking about almost 100-degree difference, 90 to 100-degree difference in temperature seasonally, right, in the desert, with a funky transition where one day it's 90 friggin' degrees and you got to turn the AC on, otherwise you're sweating your ass off. And then that night it drops to frickin' like 50, and you've got to kick on the heat.
Heater.
And it's such a pain in the ass, right? Like if you're having to do that manually, right? Thank God for Nest, right, and their little climate control thing that can do either or. That's a godsend. But before that, we used to have to do it manually, have to do the heat and AC. And you do that funky transition twice a year for about a month and a half, 2 months. And then it finally gets cold enough to where it's cold all the time, day and night, but not super freezing cold, just colder at night than it is the daytime. And you can keep it on heat and not have to worry about that. But my point is, that back and forth, you think that's healthy for the HVAC unit?
No, I would imagine that would probably be a good vertical for that area.
Yep, but we're not the only city in the desert, and not every city is like us. So my point is, there's definitely some geographic areas for HVAC that are year-round, right? That are definitely year-round. Then there's some areas that are seasonally better than others for heat, and seasonally better than others for cold, right? For AC. After an extreme summer like we just had, I would say we're going to have some serious HVAC calls in the desert here. We had some pretty hot temperatures. You also had a lot of wildfires in California. A lot of homes are burning out. Any kind of contracting jobs that spur up next year, uh, yeah, those are going to be brand new AC units, but what if the AC unit's salvageable? You'll have AC techs come out and take care of that, right? Um,
Right.
Maybe the house didn't burn down all the way. In other words, right? So my point is there's a lot of business to be had for sure in the HVAC space. The transition periods, the times a year based on your targeting geographically is what's going to make the difference. Like what I would do is identify the really cold cities, the really hot cities, and I'm talking about year-round wise, right? Set up campaigns for each, and then for each type, right? For AC and heat, and so now you've got the seasons covered. But then you could do a transition where um, you focus on that. It's not really a third campaign more than it is, but it's more of like that covering that transition period from hot to cold and making sure that's covered. Um, you can do that with things like, and I've talked about this before, HVAC specifically. You can do that with things like the inspection route, right? Uh, Now's a good time for inspection, right? After a blistering summer, now's a good time for inspection before we jump into like 40 degrees and you freeze your ass off because you don't have heat anymore because you didn't get it inspected, your unit inspected. And so inspections, a lot of, I even covered the fact that some people are doing like not COVID compliant, but COVID safe uh, inspections where you don't even have to answer the door. We'll inspect your stuff for you. We'll set it up and we'll do it and we'll check your unit once a month or once a quarter, and you pay us X dollars and we'll take care of it, right? And let you know if we find anything, and we'll do that all electronically. And we'll let you know when the tech is in your area and coming by to take a look at the unit. That whole thing, right? So while there's been a shift in that, there's still a market, very much a market for that, because they were selling that service for like I think like $60 or something. Could be wrong on that, but I think it was like $60. And I mean, is that the $5,000 unit they're used to selling? No, but it's $60 a quarter or $60 a month. I mean, shit, that's a pest control model, man. That's money, you know,
Yeah,
for doing
foot in
what?
the door.
Yeah, it's a foot in the door for when it does break, and they don't actually have to put the foot in the door, right?
Right, right.
And the whole COVID thing has been addressed. So that's not a marketing angle more than it is a unique selling proposition. Not all HVAC companies are really advertising that they have processes like that. Even if they all do, they're not all advertising the same like that. And it was a really cool example. I covered that in one of the coaching calls previously in the group. You can find it, but. Your market research will, I think that's how we uncovered that was market research. So you're going to find a ton of information like that. That's why I say don't overthink it. I mean, are you going to get, on any vertical, are you going to get a ton of calls on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day? No.
No.
No, right? So in other words, the U.S. holidays have an impact on that, right? In terms of driving calls to the business. I've had calls delivered on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day just because I had a sheer number of clients that I have, and when the calls go out, they get delivered. But not any one client doesn't have like 20 calls those days, right? Or New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. That whole friggin' weekend is a wash. Doesn't mean that people aren't still calling about certain verticals, like for example appliance repair. Christmas time, holiday season, that's a big actually this whole quarter is pretty big, but December is really big right, for appliance repair because people are using appliances more. And that's the thing, like every vertical is different, every vertical has their thing, but holidays, July 4th, nobody's calling anywhere unless they absolutely have to. And so, yeah, you'll deliver some phone calls, but it's not a banner day. It's not a 20 call day, right? Unless you're selling fireworks. It's just not the case.
Right. Yeah, it would seem like prior to the holidays, like would be a good time to advertise, saying get your house ready for the holidays. A lot of people have coming over and parties. Well, I guess maybe not parties now, but family gatherings and that type of thing.
The holiday season is always the best time of year historically for many, many years now for me, and other business models as well. But specifically, this business model is the best time to acquire clients. People are in the holiday spirit and the mood, and I'll tell you something. Now more than ever, this year is going to be the biggest and best. You know why?
No.
COVID. Let me give you some understanding on this. This is for everybody too, not just you, my man. So, did COVID, us having to like self quarantine and flip the switch off of the wheels that run the world, does that make us want more human contact or less?
More.
Well, yeah, we want what we can't have. We want what we were used to as well. On top of it, we're spoiled, right? We're all spoiled. We're like, holy shit, it's a person, it's a human. You know how long it's been since I've seen another human being? I mean, seriously, like isn't that crazy? And then when you see him, when you see him, he's like 50 feet away, and he sees that you see him, and he runs away. That's how bad it is, dude. And you're laughing because it's true. And I had somebody run away from me. No shit. I made eye contact with somebody, and he ducked behind the building, and I was like, oh shit, like that sucks. It sucked so bad when that happened to me. I was like, I've only ever been like crushed like that maybe a couple of times in my life, because it had been months since not months, but weeks since I had really had any kind of decent human interaction in person. And that was my first one, and it was like he totally ducked the experience, and I was like, "Fuck, that sucks." But
now I have an excuse for somebody that doesn't want to talk to me.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. Anyway, the point is though, you've got COVID, which it's driving us to want, whether we can or not, it doesn't matter as much. It's driving us to want to be together as a society now more than ever, right? I look at current political issues, which I'm not going to go into politics, but I look at things like Black Lives Matter, and I look at election year, and while there are more things that seem to want to pull us apart, I feel like those things actually drive us, especially with COVID, drive us to want to be more together now more than ever. Whether we're actually going to get there or not, totally different story. That's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that so many things are driving us to have that want or that need now. Now it's a need for us to want to connect with another human being. Can we do that via Facebook?
No.
Can we do it via Zoom?
No.
A little bit, right?
I mean,
a little
just
bit.
Audio, television, like.
It's just not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Right. So what are we left with? If we can't have the in-person, what's our next best? Zoom? Any kind of face-to-face? What if we don't want to do the video thing because we're only showering once a week and we're not shaving all the time? We don't go out and get haircuts like I need to go get a haircut. I mean, what do we do then if we don't want to do a video call? We do what? A phone call, right? It's very, very high on the list is my point. Phone call over social media. Think about that for a minute. Phone call over social media. And what drives phone calls? Advertising on ad platforms, social media, and Google Ads, which is not social media, it's a search engine. So you've got multiple platforms that can drive phone calls, which it's very high on their list in terms of their need and their want to connect with another human being, right? That's
right.
All of a sudden, people who normally aren't chatty on the phone are a little more chatty on the phone. You follow me?
Right.
Why? Because they need that interaction, right? They need that connection. Yeah. They need that connection. So when you're able to provide that in the form of a service, people are gonna. I'm telling you, man, now more than ever. This is COVID may be what sparks the huge movement like the explosion of growth. Not that it hasn't been end over end growth already year after year in pay-per-call, but COVID could very well do exactly what it's done to a lot of the e-com business, right? Like, in fact, I think even more, because as much as people don't want to buy things in person anymore, people don't want to do the business that they can do over the phone in person anymore either. They're going to do it on the phone. I'm
Right.
telling you. The stats from 2020, phone calls are going to be through the roof. Through the roof. And I think 2021 is going to be even better than that. And God only knows what happens from here. We just don't. It's the unknown. But I'm telling you, we were already primed for it. So this could very well be it. Don't overthink the vertical, long story short. Pick one. If you're having trouble picking one, which it sounds like you might be debating a little too much, go watch the COVID client challenges at the very beginning, where I cover the client, or not the client, but the vertical that I decided to go into and why. And I cover like 25, 26 of them in an hour and a half. It's very valuable stuff as to what goes into picking one and why. And then I do market research, right? You get to see all that. So and setup. And if you do it, if you follow along, like I don't know if you, when you were a kid, you ever watched Follow the Bouncing Dot. Follow the bouncing ball, man, and you're going to be just fine. Just fine. Yeah, that's the best advice I can give you. Not that the guides are bad. The guides are great. The guides are going to make a hell of a lot more sense once you do the COVID client challenge, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I kind of restarted there just to kind of reorient myself, and it's been helpful because I was kind of documenting what I was reading and everything, writing it down as I read it, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, now I remember where I left off, and so I'm basically back. I guess tomorrow I'll be starting that day one of the COVID challenge, and vertical selection and all of that stuff. So
now, when you watch that in Facebook, you don't have the option to speed it up inside of Facebook. There are plugins for that and extensions for that. If you're using like a Chrome browser, there are extensions for that. Here's the thing: inside of the software, the videos that I've uploaded there to Vimeo have the speed up function built in. So
you mean inside the Ring Ads?
Yep, inside the Ring Ads training area, you'll see the bonus COVID client challenge, right? And if you play the video in there and just expand it out to the large screen, you'll see on the settings wheel in the bottom right, you'll see a speed up function, right? Not that you can't do it with a Facebook video. You can. There's extensions out there that'll do that for you. But if you can't be bothered, or you don't have the time, or you don't want to get into the technical side of figuring out what that is and what that looks like, or finding it, then just go to the Vimeo video. It's built in inside of the software, the training inside the software. Go there, play the video, change the speed settings. And the reason I say that is because the COVID client challenge, have you looked to see how long those things are?
Some of them are like 4 hours long, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a total of about 35 hours, if I'm not mistaken. So, while that sounds like a lot, keep in mind I'm explaining a lot. Remember, I'm like I told Julian, I'm not giving you an employee speech.
Right.
Go do this, go do that. You're in the mind of the CEO, and I'm teaching you to be the CEO of the business model and all that comes with it, while I'm building it at the same time. So you're going to get to go through the entire process of setup and why and how through that 35 hours. So if you were to watch that on even 1.5 speed, there's a lot of there's a few breaks in there that I take. I actually take breaks from the screen, come back, 10-15 minute breaks. You don't have to be there for that. You can fast forward through that kind of shit. There's times where I do talk about certain things, but maybe you don't need to hear that right now, right? You can always come back to it later and keep working on the website like I was doing, right? There's so much. There's times where I take not a break, but I take time to make sure that the comments are all caught up. So there's parts where you don't have to fast forward, but if you did, you could get through it fairly quickly. Like setup, just doing it without talking and explaining shit should take you 2 days, 3 days. And I'm talking like way less than 24 hours. Like you should be fully set up prospecting for clients already. That kind of time. So 2-3 days of work, right? We're talking like 8 hours a day. So if you spread that out and you do 2 hours a day, this time on the next coaching call in 2 weeks, if you come back and hang out with me and Julian, I'll walk through Julian's campaigns. We'll talk about his market research or his campaign. We'll talk about his market research, his next steps on acquisition, what to look for, the pitfalls, how to make sure he closes up the business, how to track his numbers, all that kind of shit. And then I can take you through wherever you're at. You'll be at setup and you'll be about ready to dive into what he's diving into, right? Because you're going to go through the same steps. You're going to select the vertical. You're going to go through market research. You're going to do your setup. He's going to do the same thing. And both of you guys are starting over. So, I don't know. Maybe you guys want to link up. And
Actually, Julian is, I believe he's a friend of mine on Facebook. I think
sounds like. Sorry, just checking the comments on the feed. I can't get Facebook up on my tab for some reason. It's not loading. But it's probably because I got too much shit going on. I got too many tabs open. So that said, yeah, check and see if you're friends with him. If not, I mean, you know where to find him. He commented on the stream in Facebook, so you can find him there too.
Yeah, let touch base.
Yeah, touch base with him and see. I mean, you guys are, and he's fairly knowledgeable about what I teach and why. And
nice. Sounds like it.
yeah, I gave him more than an earful today about vertical selection, and you notice a lot of time I was telling him not to overthink it, simplify it, and get data, get certain on your data. No assuming, no guessing. Get your numbers, get your data, and the only way to do that is to go. What I would do if I was you, Doug, I would find out where he got that $300 coupon.
That's good. That's the Google Ads. Was that what that was?
Yeah, it was a Google Ads coupon he was talking about. So maybe he could maybe Julian's got the hookup, and he could help you out.
I'm gonna have to ask him about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a note of that right here. Ask Julian.
All right.
Yeah, good reminder.
Yep. All right, my man. Anything else you got?
I think that's it for now. I just wanted to run that past you real quick, and good to see you again.
You too, man. Happy to have you guys coming back. That's cool. Love seeing that.
You bet.
All right.
We're ready to rock.
All right. I'm gonna. Here's what we do. Here's what we're gonna do now. I've been on the call for. Is that right? 6 o'clock? Shit, 4 hours. Okay. Hey, I did a 2-hour call an hour call before this, so I've done 5 hours worth of calls today. A lot of cool stuff covered though. I'm looking at comments for anybody that's wondering. I'm not trying to do two things at once. Nope, that's the wrong post. There it is. All right, let's see what we got here. Did I miss anything? I can't get Facebook to load on my friggin' browser. It's probably because I got 4 hours worth of freaking streaming going on right now. The load on the computer is probably not. My computer probably hates me.
I was having it kept freezing up on me when I was trying to watch.
Well, the
Facebook,
the stream's fine on my end in terms of production. So clearly that's not the case. My battery level's fine, so I'm not draining my battery. Even though I'm plugged in, sometimes that's how much power I can use at times. But I'm not able to load Facebook, so it's probably just tapped out on memory.
Right.
Let's see. Thanks for coming on live, Julian. Adrian's writing this. I learned a lot from your questions, and William dropped massive knowledge on the questions. I was taking notes like crazy. Awesome, dude. Love seeing that. Steve Taylor says, great call. I would agree. It's not a 60-minute talk to your employee call, which, by the way, in the over-the-shoulder videos on Ring Ads Prime, I'll be doing that kind of shit. When we make our first hire, I'm going to show you guys what those conversations are like, and you'll be like, damn, I didn't know William could be that short in conversation. Yeah. Well, when I hire somebody and I pay them by the hour, I'm not their best friend. I'm not mean, but I ain't their best friend either. You guys, I mean, you're fellow
We're your best friend.
entrepreneurs. You are my best friend. Yeah, you damn straight. I mean, I treat you guys that way. I look at you that way because you're in the same business as I am. Think about it.